Chapter 61. Another person joining. The intentions of Shimura Danzo are crystal clear. Due to the Uchiha clan's long-standing presence in Konoha, Shimura Danzo had to exhaust every strategy to seize a Sharingan, and he had already set his sights on Uchiha Obito, the rogue ninja. Especially since Uchiha Obito possesses the Mangekyo Sharingan. Shimura Danzo believed that neither Ekihara Kagura nor Hatake Kakashi would necessarily be able to deal with Uchiha Obito, who had the Mangekyo Sharingan. He estimated that it would take his own cunning and experienced intervention to stand a chance. To take a step back, even if these two had the opportunity to deal with Uchiha Obito, Shimura Danzo must be present to preemptively recover Obito's Mangekyo Sharingan. Shimura Danzo instructed Ekihara Kagura to remember to relay information, feeling gradually calmer. This time going to the Mist Village, will you be accompanying Hatake Kakashi? Yes, I will be monitoring him. Ekihara Kagura glanced at Shimura Danzo, who had regained his composure, and whispered, "The first time I came to Konoha, that guy displeased Lord Danzo. This time on the road, I will try to find an opportunity to kill him. I've always said, do not be too extreme in your actions." Shimura Danzo couldn't help but chuckle, saying, "I've also told you do not casually attack members of the Anbu. They are also part of Konoha, and besides, Hatake Kakashi is an excellent ninja. I am a magnanimous person, I won't take his offense to heart." Ekihara Kagura nodded insincerely. "I've always liked Kakashi." When Shimura Danzo said this, his face became somewhat serious. He has a darkness in him that others cannot match. On the road, you can ask him if he would like to join the route. In the future, I can help him spare Uchiha Obito's life. All right, Ekihara Kagura quickly nodded. How can this superior always be daydreaming like this? Discussing solely the difficulty of capturing Uchiha Obito, the entire Konoha village has no effective means against Uchiha Obito. Yet there he is, already planning for how to deal with him after his capture. Moreover, Hatake Kakashi is the leader of the Anbu squad, a bona fide official in the ranks, and even has prospects of contending for the position of Hokage in the future. Yet, you want him to come to the Root Division and work as a temporary, unofficial member. But Ekihara Kagura thinks this task is somewhat challenging, and decides to preemptively warn the superior to avoid Shimura Danzo truly believing that Ekihara Kagura can accomplish this task. I am worried that Hatake Kakashi will not agree. Moreover, Hatake Kakashi might not believe that Lord Danzo can help him save Uchiha Obito's life. Oh, Uchiha Obito! Ekihara Kagura glanced at Shimura Danzo, who remained seated firm as a mountain, and continued, "He is the culprit who caused the Nine Tails disturbance in the Konoha 6 years ago." Bang! Shimura Danzo suddenly couldn't sit still. "What did you say?" Satisfied, Ekihara Kagura lowered his head and continued, "When I met Uchiha Obito, he personally admitted to causing the Nine Tails disturbance. However, Hatake Kakashi believes there might be doubts about this matter and wants to clear Uchiha Obito's name. The third Hokage didn't say much. HMPH, just as I expected." Anger filled Shimura Danzo's eyes, and he slammed his fist onto the desk. The Uchiha clan is indeed the culprit behind the Nine Tails disturbance. Uchiha Obito possesses the Mangekyo Sharingan. It must have been him who did it. The Uchiha clan, once they deviate in their thoughts, gain evil power and bring immense disasters to the Konoha. Unable to bear it any longer, Shimura Danzo spoke coldly. "You go and rest first. I am now going to the Hokage's building to discuss important matters." "Is it about recruiting Kakashi?" Ekihara Kagura tentatively asked. Shimura Danzo fell silent for a while, then decided to leave the matter in Ekihara Kagura's hands. "Uchiha Obito will certainly be executed. As for the others, handle it as you see fit." "Yes." Ekihara Kagura could only nod helplessly. Since the boss had said to handle it himself at such a time, if there were any problems after recruiting Hatake Kakashi, then it shouldn't be this subordinate who takes the blame. "Right." Ekihara Kagura remembered something, trying to clear his own name, Lord Danzo, about the matter with a Burame Tatsuma. I don't care about such trivial matters. Shimura Danzo showed little interest in this matter and did not care whether Ekihara Kagura wanted to clear his grievances, but simply instructed him. Just remember one thing, do not kill recklessly within the village. How could this false accusation not be cleared? Why did Shimura Danzo, his superior, carry such a false accusation himself and still let his subordinate bear it too? Never mind, these are all minor issues. Ekihara Kagura could only watch helplessly as Shimura Danzo went to the Hokage's building. This boss would run off to the Hokage's building at the slightest issue, unable to accomplish anything and still end up frustrated. Anbu changing room. When Ekihara Kagura returned here, he planned to remove his Anbu gear and take the opportunity to wander around the village during his free time. However, Headache Kakashi could no longer wait. Over the years, this was the first time Headache Kakashi had been so proactive. Headache Kakashi received permission from the third Hokage to leave the Konoha village. Without even returning home to pack, he headed straight to the Anbu base to meet with Ekihara Kagura. "Are you in such a hurry?" To avoid alerting Abaido. Headache Kakashi, draped in a white cloak, spoke softly. Abaido has always concealed his identity, not wanting anyone to know he is still alive. With Abaido's identity now exposed, he might eliminate any traces he's left behind. Headache Kakashi found them another reason. The village has always needed us to gather intelligence on the Mist Village. As Headache Kakashi spoke of this reason, it sounded increasingly convincing. The Mist Village is isolated from the ninja world, having long implemented a closed-door policy towards the land of water. Few have been able to obtain information from within. The Konoha has always lacked intelligence on the mist, which is why I quickly received permission from the Hokage to leave the village. Ekihara Kagura felt that Headache Kakashi was making a lot of sense. By the way, Headache Kakashi, as if suddenly remembering something, spoke to Ekihara Kagura. "I forgot to tell you, someone from the Uchiha clan will be joining us. We need to make a trip to the Uchiha clan district first." After all, Abaido Uchiha was also a member of the Uchiha clan. The third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, ordered Headache Kakashi to summon Uchiha Fugaku to inquire about the situation. He proactively informed Uchiha Fugaku of some details about Uchiha Abaido, including the still questionable issue of the Nine Tails disturbance. After all, the Nine Tails disturbance has always been a thorn between the Konoha and the Uchiha clan. Uchiha Fugaku immediately realized the seriousness of the matter and resolved to send people to investigate the whereabouts of Abaido under the orders of the third Hokage. If this Uchiha Abaido really was the culprit behind the Nine Tails disturbance, the threat would be no less than that of Konoha's #1 rogue ninja, Uchiha Madara. The Uchiha clan had already suffered enough from the defection of their former leader, Madara. If the matter concerning Uchiha Abaido really turned out to be true, the entire Uchiha clan no longer needs to consider compromising with the higher-ups of Konoha. Chapter 62, Little Sasuke, when you take Chunin exam, I'm gonna be the examiner. The Uchiha clan district. This place is located at the edge of the Konoha village. When the Konoha village first divided the residential areas for various ninja clans, the second Hokage, Senju Tabarama, allocated the largest living area to the Uchiha clan, a prestigious ninja clan, which resulted in their district being located at the edge of the village. Decades passed. The Konoha village expanded into several areas. 6 years ago, the Nine Tails attack caused severe damage within the village. The higher-ups of the Konoha re-divided the residential areas for the ninja clans. Shimura Danzo helped relocate the Uchiha clan to an even more remote area, surrounded by larger training grounds. The Uchiha clan's district, always located at the edge of the village, coupled with the clan's inherent pride, made it a place few villagers were willing to visit. The Uchiha increasingly isolated themselves, even preventing villagers from entering their district. "The scenery here is nice." Ekihara Kagura spoke, complementing the view. This place is more majestic than the Uchiha district of the past. Hade Kakashi nodded and then turned to an old man sitting at the entrance of a shop. "Excuse me, where is the home of Uchiha Fugaku, the head of the Konoha police force?" "Just go straight down this road." The elderly of the Uchiha clan were quite patient. In contrast, the younger members of the Uchiha clan were noticeably more temperamental. Seeing Ekihara Kagiura, the wood-release ninja who had defeated Uchiha Itachi, their expressions inevitably turned sour. However, seeing that Kagiura was just a child, they refrained from causing any conflict. "It seems they don't welcome us." Ekihara Kagiura noticed the reactions of the people they encountered on the road. "They don't welcome anyone." Hade Kakashi, who had long experienced the Uchiha clan's style, softly reassured the young boy, "It's not just you. Any outsider is unwelcome here." Back when Kakashi was younger, he often visited the Uchiha district to find the tardy Uchiha Obaido, and he didn't care much about these attitudes. Ekihara Kagiura asked the question he was most curious about: "Which member of the Uchiha clan will go with us to the Mist Village?" "Uchiha Shisui, perhaps. His abilities are quite good." "It's not him." Hade Kakashi shook his head and found an excuse for Uchiha Shisui. "Uchiha Shisui is an elite jonin of the village, and he has other important missions to undertake." Before the Chunin exams, there was a possibility that Uchiha Shisui might accompany them to the Mist Village. However, during the Chunin exams, after Uchiha Shisui demonstrated the technique of Susanoo, it became inconvenient for him to leave Konoha village on missions. For the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Shisui's power could influence the balance between the Uchiha and the Konoha village. For the higher-ups of Konoha, Uchiha Shisui, being a pacifist inclined towards the Konoha, his power could be used by the Konoha and even considered as a strategic weapon. In summary, Uchiha Shisui temporarily found it inconvenient to leave the village at will. Hade Kakashi, noticing the somewhat dispirited expression of Ekihara Kagiura, said, "However, you know the person who will be going with us to the Mist Village." "Uchiha Itachi, that kid." Ekihara Kagiura, familiar with only a few Uchihas, mentioned a familiar name, even assertively saying, "I only know Uchiha Shisui and Uchiha Itachi." And maybe that little one shouting and yelling in the Chunin exam arena, what was his name, Uchiha Sasuke? How can you refer to Uchiha Itachi as a kid? Hade Kakashi glanced at Ekihara Kagiura, unable to help saying, "I remember you are about the same age as Uchiha Itachi, right? But our statuses are different now." Ekihara Kagiura leisurely countered, distinguishing himself from Uchiha Itachi. "When I was his age, I had already become a member of Konoha's Anbu. This is your second day in the Anbu, right?" Hade Kakashi adjusted the ninja headband on his forehead and continued, "Judging from the time you reported to the Anbu, it's not even been 24 hours. We've arrived." Ekihara Kagiura stopped in front of a house. The house was quite large, and one could even hear the sound of a stream in the courtyard. "Sorry, Itachi is not home." Uchiha Mikoto came out to greet them and expressed her apologies in a low voice, her gentle eyes revealing a hint of worry. "This morning, Itachi went to the training grounds." Since losing to Ekihara Kagiura in the Chunin exam, Uchiha Itachi has become even more diligent and hardworking, spending most of his time at the training grounds. Uchiha Mikoto is very concerned about her son, but she cannot speak out to stop her child's efforts. She even feels fortunate that her child did not become depressed or hateful due to the defeat. She is a gentle mother. In fact, the members of the Uchiha Itachi family are quite admirable. Uchiha Fugaku has always been proud of his eldest son, Uchiha Itachi. Even when Itachi lost to Ekihara Kagiura in the Chunin exam, Fugaku did not blame his son. Uchiha Fugaku is very aware that this was not his son's fault. He even believes that Itachi finally has a peer rival, encouraging Itachi to diligently train his Sharingan, confident that he will eventually defeat his rival Ekihara Kagiura. As for the younger brother, there's even less to say. Uchiha Sasuke, the little kid, stood beside his mother, his cheeks puffing up angrily, glaring at Ekihara Kagiura. Hey, don't get too cocky. My big brother will defeat you sooner or later. Sasuke. Uchiha Mikoto quickly stopped her younger son's impolite behavior, gently educating him. Don't say such impolite things. It's normal for kids to be ill-tempered. Teenager Akihara Kagura acted like an adult, forgiving little Sasuke with great magnanimity. He even bent down to kindly pat Uchiha Sasuke's head. Kid, don't always expect others to help you. Akihara Kagura, looking at the still angry Uchiha Sasuke, continued slowly. If you have the spirit of a little man when you grow up, help your big brother take revenge. Okay. Little Sasuke showed great spirit, waving his little fists. When I grow up and participate in the Chunin exam, I will definitely defeat you in front of everyone. All right. Akihara Kagura, patting little Sasuke's head, nodded with a smile. It's just a pity that when you grow up, I might be the examiner of the Chunin exam. I could find a reason to eliminate you, never allowing you to advance to Chunin. Little Sasuke was astonished. For many years, Uchiha Sasuke, this little fellow, had always been dearly loved and never encountered someone with such a vile character. He was so scared that his eyes turned red. Ha ha ha! Uchiha Mikoto covered her mouth and chuckled softly, gently comforting her young son. All right, Sasuke, your senpai is just teasing you. We should go find someone first. Hadake Kakashi hurriedly tried to pull away Akihara Kagura, not wanting to see this young man bully a child anymore, lest they lose face for the Anbu. Kakashi-senpai, Kagura-kun. Just at that moment, Uchiha Itachi appeared on the street, politely greeting Hadake Kakashi and Akihara Kagura. Because his father, Uchiha Fugaku, had sent a message to him at the training ground, asking him to accompany an investigation into Uchiha Obito's matter, Uchiha Itachi quickly rushed home to pack his belongings. Uchiha Itachi's gaze fell on Uchiha Sasuke, whose eyes were red with tears, revealing a touch of heartache. He quickly approached to comfort his younger brother. Sasuke, what's wrong? Maybe he thinks the life of a future genin is too hard. In front of everyone, Akihara Kagura spouted nonsense, urging Uchiha Itachi, who was comforting his brother, all right, hurry up and pack your things. There's no need to waste time comforting this little guy here. Anyway, you're about to leave with us and he's definitely going to keep crying. Chapter 63, Crossing the Sea Towards the Land of Water. The entrance of the Konoha village, just as Akihara Kagura had expected. Little Sasuke cried miserably when he heard that his brother was leaving for a mission, clinging to Uchiha Itachi's arm, not wanting to let go. Don't cry. Akihara Kagura watched Uchiha Itachi comforting his brother carefully and stepped forward to help ease the situation. Kid, actually, we didn't want to take your brother on the mission either. He's no match for me and probably won't be of much help. Why don't you take your brother back home? Ah, hick. Sasuke's crying stopped abruptly, only to start crying even louder. Wah, big brother is the strongest. He can definitely help complete the mission. All right then. Then you cry a little longer. Akihara Kagura patted Uchiha Sasuke's head and waved at Uchiha Itachi. Let's go, listen to your brother's words and don't disappoint him. Uchiha Itachi appeared somewhat at a loss. Go on, Itachi. Uchiha Mikoto took her younger son into her arms, smiling and persuading, don't keep everyone waiting, I will take Sasuke home first. Big brother, little Sasuke cried as he went home with his mother. Thank you. Uchiha Itachi then cautiously thanked Akihara Kagura, being especially polite compared to Kagura. Kakashi-senpai, Kagura-kun, let's set out. Hadake Kakashi, who had been standing by and watching indifferently, finally stepped forward and nodded. Let's go, we should move a bit faster on our journey. As a senpai, Hadake Kakashi was indeed qualified. Throughout the journey, Hadake Kakashi took good care of the two youngsters, generously teaching them ninja skills for hiding their tracks and counter-tracking in the wild. Even though Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Shisui had learned about this, they couldn't help but admire that the Anbu were truly elite ninjas of the village, using more sophisticated and meticulous methods. Of course, this excludes Akihara Kagura. This former competitor, in the eyes of Uchiha Itachi, seemed somewhat delicate, as if he had never survived in the wild. The only thing that could be considered a wilderness survival skill was fishing by the river in the evening, and this rival had a really bad temper. As soon as he saw that the big fish didn't bite, he would use wood-release ninjutsu to spear the fish directly. Late at night, the first time camping, the three gathered under a tree. Hade Kakashi looked at Akihara Kagura, his eyes revealing a rare hint of relaxation. "Kagura, you can use wood-release to build a house for resting now." Anbu ninjas like to travel with Tenzo. Apart from Tenzo's strong abilities, it was also because wood-release techniques were very convenient for living. Even in the wild, Tenzo could build a resting house. "Is that okay?" Akihara Kagura looked at Hade Kakashi, raising his own doubts. "A house suddenly appearing in the wild is too conspicuous. It's better to keep a low profile when outside." "No problem." Hade Kakashi frowned, feeling that Akihara Kagura had become a bit strange. When did this kid start thinking like a normal ninja? Hade Kakashi thought it was safe here. This is within the borders of the Land of Fire. The surroundings have been scouted and there are no enemies. Traps have been set around so we can rest well tonight and continue to speed up our journey tomorrow. "I can't." Akihara Kagura's words extinguished Hade Kakashi's idea, adding, "If you want to build a house, the only thing I can do is provide a century-old tree." Indeed, Akihara Kagura did not know how to use wood-release to build a house. Since the Chunin exam, Akihara Kagura has not had a moment to rest and train, let alone develop the wood-release Kekkei Genkai techniques. After resolving the crisis posed by Uchiha Obito's surveillance, he hastily went on a business trip with Kakashi. Moreover, the first Hokage's wood-release techniques were powerful enough. Now, Hade Kakashi suddenly mentioned needing a house for rest. Akihara Kagura thought about it and realized that the only thing he could offer was the illusionary world created by the limited Tsukuyomi. Such a terrifying dijutsu. It definitely should not be revealed here. "Forget it." Hade Kakashi sighed, called the two youngsters over and said, "Since we have temporarily formed a team, let's exchange information about the techniques we can use in advance. There's a high chance we'll encounter danger while gathering intelligence in the Land of Water. I can do what you have probably already seen." Akihara Kagura leaned casually against a tree and spread out her palm. "After all, I never attended the Ninja Academy and had no Jonin guidance. Asking more would be impolite. I'm skilled in fire release and genjutsu." Uchiha Itachi modestly mentioned his strengths and then asked, "What about you, Kakashi-senpai?" "I remember you should know many ninja techniques. I know a little of almost everything." Hade Kakashi had no clear concept of his abilities, but he mentioned what he was best at. "If I had to say, it would probably be lightning release." "Show us something." Akihara Kagura sprang up. "My chakra is not as abundant as yours, kid." Hade Kakashi shook his head, not wanting to waste chakra at this time. He was somewhat curious. "Do you only know 2 wood-release techniques?" "They are already very powerful." Uchiha Itachi personally experienced the wood release of Akihara Kagura. Hade Kakashi also felt that something was not right. Although Akihara Kagura had only used 2 wood release techniques, those 2 were powerful enough to be considered devastating, and even he had no way to counter them. Akihara Kagura didn't mind his lack of knowledge and continued, "If you include techniques like the wood clone, I can use 5 wood release techniques." Wood clone. Hade Kakashi touched his chin, pondering. The wood clone is even more difficult to distinguish than the shadow clone. It's quite suitable for reconnaissance. The problem is, Akihara Kagura's personality doesn't really fit for reconnaissance missions. On the 3rd day, the team arrived at the seaside. The entire port did not have a single ship willing to go to the Land of Water. Traditionally, only ships from the Mist Village appeared here, aiming to raid the Land of Fire. They certainly would not allow them to board. The technology of the ninja world is very peculiar. Many small boats in the ninja world are made of wood, but they are not propelled by paddles. Instead, they rely on motors at the stern, requiring professional skills to operate. What they needed was a ship capable of voyaging, staffed with professional crew members and a captain, as traveling to the land of water was considered a long journey. "Shall we check another port?" Uchiha Itachi, who had studied geography, knew there was another port nearby. "The journey to the other port isn't too far." "There's no need." Hadake Kakashi shook his head and said in a low voice, "The Mist Village has long isolated the land of water. Even if we go to another port, no one would be willing to let us board." Akihara Kagura offered his idea. "Both of you have the Sharingan, why not use the Sharingan to hypnotize and control the crew of a ship?" Hadake Kakashi, a person of positive energy, replied, "The ninjas of the Mist Village inspect ships entering the waters of the land of water. This would put innocent civilians in danger and expose us to the eyes of the Mist Village." Akihara Kagura is also a very positive person. "When the ninjas from the Mist Village come to inspect, just kill them." Could it possibly be that the Mizukage of the Mist Village would personally come to conduct such a trivial inspection? Chapter 64, and so, the Mizukage guard the water himself. What Akihara Kagura had said actually makes sense. The Mizukage of the Mist Village wouldn't bother with such trivial matters. Most of the time, the Hokage of the Konoha village stays in the Hokage's office handling official duties. The Mizukage must also be extremely busy daily. How could they possibly have the time to float on the sea every day checking ships? However, Hadake Kakashi believes that even for a Jonin of the Mist Village in a sea environment unfavorable for their combat, it would not necessarily be an easy problem to solve. Once they fail to kill the opponent and the opponent escapes, it becomes troublesome. Akihara Kagura's wood-release techniques also suffer a certain degree of weakening at sea. Even if he could use the wood dragon technique, such a major disturbance would definitely attract the attention of the Mist Village. The world of ninjas is inherently dangerous. Akihara Kagura rarely says something serious, but his next sentence reveals his true nature. "If all else fails, we can just return the way we came. After all, when we left, Lord Danzo went to see the third Hokage. It's likely that soon the entire ninja world will hear about the rogue ninja warrant for Uchiha Obaido. He can't continue to hide. We'll find him sooner or later. Shimura Danzo, that guy is really..." Hadake Kakashi is somewhat helpless, realizing the urgency of time. "I'll go find a boat." Uchiha Itachi, using his Sharingan to hypnotize, controls a sea captain and takes them towards the land of water. Normally, the Mizukage of the Mist Village wouldn't be so idle unless this Mizukage is not the real person in power. Unfortunately, the current fourth Mizukage, Yagura, is just a puppet controlled by others. Land of water. In the office of the Mizukage in the Mist Village, Uchiha Obaido puts on his mask again, sitting in the position of the fourth Mizukage, holding a stack of Mist Ninja files, slowly selecting the pawns he wants from them. The fourth Mizukage Yagura stands beside Uchiha Obaido, quiet as a wooden mannequin, seemingly oblivious to Uchiha Obaido's actions. Originally, during the war, the Mist Village implanted the three tails into Nohara Rin, which directly led to Rin choosing to be killed by Kakashi. Plus, being isolated from the ninja mainland and possessing two of the tailed beasts, the three tails and the six tails, Uchiha Obaido simply took control of the fourth Mizukage of the Mist Village. Using the Mizukage's influence, he then controlled the entire village. For many years, the Mist Village adhered to the belief that only those who emerge from slaughter are strong, even including the graduation exams of the Ninja Academy, which involved killing each other. It was only stopped completely when a student named Mamachi Zabuza killed all the graduates of that year. However, the Mist Village still remains unchanged in its blood mist status, where superiors oppressed by higher-ups enforce cruel high-pressure management policies on their subordinates. The Land of Water is also full of contradictions. Within the Land of Water, the self-proclaimed powerful and war-loving Kaguya clan never obey the orders of the Mist Village. They arbitrarily slaughter ordinary civilians, causing both the entire Land of Water and the ninjas of the Mist Village to detest the bloodline ninjas. Uchiha Obaido is too indifferent to care about this. After controlling the fourth Mizukage, Karatachi Yagura, Uchiha Obaido never considered governing the Mist Village. He merely uses the village as a temporary place to keep the 3 tails and 6 tails beasts, and occasionally searches for powerful ninjas within the village to use as pawns for his future Eye of the Moon plan. To Uchiha Obaido, the Mist Village is the source of Rin's death. It's already fortunate that he hasn't destroyed the village. How could he possibly allow it to thrive? The most important thing is, Uchiha Obaido is not good at these things. HMPH, another bunch of useless ones. Uchiha Obaido, after reviewing a pile of ninja files, carelessly tossed them to the ground. I've been away for so many days, and only Hoshigaki Kasama's strength is still somewhat acceptable. This is the only person Uchiha Obaido is satisfied with. Because Kasama is decisive in action, never discounts the orders from above, and possesses the powerful bloodline of the Hoshigaki clan, making him extremely formidable in combat. Yagura glanced at the files thrown to the ground by Uchiha Obaido and remained silently standing in place without any action. Uchiha Obaido's fingers tapped lightly on the table, again feeling anxious and disturbed about revealing his identity in the Konoha village. Kakashi, knowing he is still alive, will definitely search everywhere for his whereabouts. The higher-ups of the Konoha will surely issue a warrant for his arrest. The only good news is that a kid named Ekihara Kagura agreed to join him, but the kid's arrogant and overbearing attitude is like that of a madman. He hasn't even chosen to directly become a trustworthy rogue ninja, just verbally expressing his willingness to be his inside man in the Konoha. What a joke! Does he need an inside man in the Konoha village? Even if he reveals his identity, entering the Konoha village would be a walk in the park for him. If he wants any information, he can just have Zetsu secretly investigate. Something's happened. The figure of a pitcher plant monster slowly emerged from the ground. What is it? Uchiha Obaido looked at it in surprise. The entire Mist Village was under his control. The 4th Mizukage, Yagura, was the most powerful person in the Mist Village. Could there be any problems here? A clone of White Zetsu brought a message. The white half-face of the pitcher plant monster mechanically conveyed the unsettling news. The Konoha village has issued a wanted order for you in the ninja world. When it went to the Konoha village to secretly gather information, it discovered that the Konoha village had again sent people to the land of water to track you down. I thought it was something serious. Uchiha Obaido remained calm, sitting in his original spot, and snorted coldly. I had anticipated this. Let it keep an eye on the Akatsuki's situation to prevent them from having second thoughts. After Uchiha Obaido finished speaking, he turned to look at the motionless 4th Mizukage Yagura next to him and commanded, Yagura, order the Mist Anbu to strengthen their guard. If you encounter Konoha village spies who come to gather intelligence, just kill them. Ordinary ninjas might not be able to do it. The white half-face of the pitcher plant monster couldn't help but laugh, speaking slowly. The one who is coming is Hatake Kakashi. Kakashi, that waste. Uchiha Obaido's tone was full of disdain. The white half-face of the pitcher plant monster laughed even more joyously, continuing to add, there's also Ekihara Kagura and Uchiha Itachi. Ekihara Kagura's wood release is not easy to deal with. You almost fell into his hands yourself. When was this information received? Uchiha Obaido's heart skipped a beat, and he looked at the pitcher plant monster with dissatisfaction. When you speak, don't just tell half of it. 3 days ago. The black half-face of the pitcher plant monster spoke hoarsely. They must have set out at least 3 days ago. They might be close to the land of water by now. It's not a big problem. Uchiha Obaido thought of Ekihara Kagura being his spy, and his mind gradually calmed down. The team coming to track him down immediately seemed less difficult to handle. The problem is, Ekihara Kagura didn't know that the Mist Village was his, the boss's, territory. If he had known that the Konoha village would send people to infiltrate the Mist Village in the land of water to track him down, he should have discussed it with Ekihara Kagura, his spy, to prevent such an unforeseen situation from happening. However, that kid might not necessarily be able to stop the Konoha village from sending people to infiltrate here. He'll have a good talk with that kid later. The Konoha village has issued his wanted order, and sooner or later there will be a chance to use that kid. Yagura. After pondering for a while, Uchiha Obito gave his orders to the fourth Mizukage, Yagura. You lead a team personally to seal off the coast and hunt for Konoha village spies. No outsiders are allowed into the land of water. Chapter 65, Mizukage and Mist Anbis vs Team Kakashi. The vast ocean stretches endlessly. A sea ship sails towards the land of water, braving the waves. Akahara Kagura stands atop the ship's mast, gazing at the distant sea. The sea breeze scatters his long hair, an experience he has never had in his life. So enthusiastic. Hadake Kakashi busies himself setting traps on the ship. He glances at Uchiha Itachi, who is helping, and unusually compliments. If Kagura could learn even half of your attitude towards life, it would spare me the worry of that kid doing something extreme. Kagura-kun, huh? Uchiha Itachi looks up at Akahara Kagura standing on the mast, recalling their interaction before the Chunin exam, and shakes his head. He's actually quite a pitiful person. That guy. Hadake Kakashi reflects on Akahara Kagura's background. Though Akahara Kagura possesses a very powerful would-release Kekkei Genkai, he is unable to escape the fate of being manipulated, with even his thoughts and actions constrained by Shimura Danzo. Are you two discussing something impolite? Akahara Kagura leaps down from the mast like a boss inspecting work. I have good news for you all. No more work is needed. Hadake Kakashi stops his work in surprise. Are we near the land of water already? Didn't the Mist Ninjas come to check? More or less. Akahara Kagura, speaking ambiguously, explains with a smile, we are indeed close to the land of water, and the Mist Ninjas haven't come for inspection. It seems we are in luck. Uchiha Itachi breathes a rare sigh of relief. It should be considered quite lucky. Akahara Kagura continued leisurely. Based on my observation, the Mist Ninjas indeed have no intention of inspecting this ship. It seems a squad of more than 30 people is heading straight towards this ship from the sea. Their attire should belong to the elite forces of the Mist Village. Prepare for battle. Hadake Kakashi's face changed, and he sped up the setting of traps in his hands, knowing they at least had a chance to confront the enemy on the ship. Uchiha Itachi skillfully wrapped wire around several handheld swords, raising his hand to scatter these swords and nail them onto the ship's deck, creating a series of connected traps. Phew, thankfully we made it in time. Uchiha Itachi let out a sigh of relief, lying on the bow of the ship, carefully observing the formation of the fast-approaching Mist Ninjas. Uchiha Itachi noticed a small figure carrying a strange stick-like weapon at the forefront of the Mist team, reminding him of his memory at 4 years old when Uchiha Fugaku took him to see the Great Ninja War. There's a child on the opposite team. Don't underestimate him. Akahara Kagura stood beside Uchiha Itachi, speaking leisurely. The other Mist Ninjas are all wearing masks, only his face is bare, meaning he doesn't need to hide his identity, definitely a significant figure. Akahara Kagura watched as the Mist Ninja squad, under the command of the child, dispersed and continued. See, the others are all obeying his orders and even show great respect when receiving instructions. That is, Uchiha Itachi also noticed the anomaly and whispered, Kakashi-senpai, Kagura-kun, am I seeing this wrong? They seem to be calling that child Mizukage. Hadake Kakashi's forehead dripped with a bead of cold sweat, his gaze shifting to Akahara Kagura. That childlike figure is the Mizukage of the Mist Village. You were right. We've hit the worst luck. Hadake Kakashi immediately made a decision, speaking solemnly. You two run along the sea surface as far as you can. I'll hold them off. Now was the critical moment. Hadake Kakashi realized that their journey had fallen into a perilous situation. The battle was at sea, and the enemy consisted of Mist Anbu and the Mizukage of the Mist Village. Hadake Kakashi felt that it was impossible to defeat the opponent, and even Mist might soon receive reinforcements. It would already be an achievement if the two youngsters could escape. What exactly is the situation in Mist? Why would the leader of a village come out with the Anbu to inspect the sea? No wonder Konoha has always found it difficult to obtain information about Mist. With the Mizukage personally leading the team to blockade the sea, no spy could bring back any news. The fourth Mizukage, Karatachi Yagura, had no intention of inspecting this unauthorized entry of a sea vessel. He pulled out a flower-decorated club-like weapon from behind his back and pressed it down on the sea surface. This Mizukage's use of water-release ninjutsu was incredibly effortless, almost not requiring hand seals, and easily utilizing his weapon for release. Even the effects of his techniques were somewhat different from those of ordinary water-release ninjas. Water release, exploding water shock wave. Suddenly, the sea surface began to tremble. Waves continuously rose from the sea, rushing towards the ship. Yagura didn't care who was on board. He intended to flip the vessel over, allowing his subordinates to capture the people in the water. Water release, water wall. Hadake Kakashi instantly appeared on the sea surface, quickly forming hand seals, and a tall wall of water emerged, continuously blocking the oncoming waves. Hadake Kakashi. The Mist Ninjas immediately recognized Hadake Kakashi's identity. "You guys run." While resisting Yagura, Hadake Kakashi sternly ordered, "Kagura, Itachi, escape in different directions." "We can't escape." Uchiha Itachi, observing the group of encircling Mist Anbu ninjas, shook his head and said, "We can't outrun them on the sea. Moreover, we can't just leave Kakashi-senpai in danger." Uchiha Itachi drew the ninja sword from his back, his face set with determination as he spoke, "We stay and fight alongside Kakashi-senpai." As the words were spoken, Uchiha Itachi's eyes revealed the three Tamo Sharingan, calmly waiting for the group of Mist Anbu ninjas to rush onto the ship. With the help of the Sharingan and the traps on the ship, Uchiha Itachi certainly had the power to confront the enemy, but the only trouble was that there were far too many of them. In the blink of an eye, 3 or 4 Mist Anbu quickly leaped onto the ship. These Mist ninjas, accustomed to killing in their daily lives, couldn't help but burst into laughter upon seeing only 2 youngsters left on the ship. Akihara Kagura pulled out the standard Anbu ninja sword from behind his back and charged towards these Mist ninjas. The open sea was not conducive for the use of wood-release techniques. If a large tree were to grow on the ship, the vessel that Hadake Kakashi intended to protect might capsize first. Kagura, Kun. Uchiha Itachi was actually full of confidence in his teammate Akihara Kagura. He believed that this opponent, who had defeated him in the Chunin exams, must also possess superb swordsmanship. Reality often turns out to be astonishing. Akihara Kagura's swordsmanship was disastrously bad. In a confrontation with a Mist ninja, Kagura's sword was knocked away in just 3 moves, and he even had to catch the enemy's sword with his bare hands. Akihara Kagura only felt a momentary pain in his palm, and the chakra inside his body quickly became active. A cool and tingling sensation spread from the wound, which was healing rapidly, showcasing the astonishing healing ability of the Hashirama cells. "This kid." The Mist Ninja looked at the young boy who seemed to feel no pain while gripping the sharp blade, somewhat astounded. The boy, holding the enemy's ninja sword in one hand, quickly flipped his palm closer and slapped the enemy's chest. In an instant, a wooden spike burst inside the enemy's body. Chapter 66, Hashirama did what? On the deck, blood splattered. The first enemy died under the wood release technique. Akihara Kagura swiftly retreated, raising his hand to erect his fingers. 2 vines sprouted from the deck. 2 approaching Mist ninjas tried to retreat quickly, but one of them couldn't avoid in time and was pierced through by a vine in an instant. "Wood release ninjutsu. You kid, are a wood release ninja." The surviving Mist ninja looked at Akihara Kagura in shock. Ninjas, more or less, had to understand a part of history. The god of ninjas, Senju Hashirama, ended the chaotic warring states period single-handedly with the power of wood release. On the other hand, Uchiha Itachi was engaged in combat with another Mist ninja, wielding a ninja sword. Even with the advantage of the Sharingan, Uchiha Itachi had to admit that his enemy was somewhat tough to handle, facing an elite ninja from the Mist Village. "Sharingan." This kid is from the Uchiha clan. Mist ninjas were not unfamiliar with the Sharingan. They had often been involved in wars against the Konoha village where the Uchiha clan was a common participant. On the contrary, the wood-release kid was a rare item. Catch them two kids. Kill them, leave no troubles behind. Except for the team that went to support the 4th Mizukage Yagura, other teams surrounded the ship where Uchiha Itachi and Ekihara Kagura were. Vines sprouted from the ship. The entire ship resembled a giant octopus with huge tentacles. Every mist ninja trying to approach the ship was repelled by the vines, and even two that had slipped through the net on the ship were pulled out by the thick vines. Water release, exploding water shock wave. A group of mist ninjas neatly assembled together, forming hand seals in unison, and spouted waves of water towards the direction of the ship. The vines quickly closed together. Ekihara Kagura controlled the thick vines to converge, enveloping the entire ship into a hollow wooden sphere, defending against the collective water release ninjutsu of the mist ninjas. The entire hollow wooden sphere continually floated on the sea surface, yet it ultimately remained undamaged by the water-based ninjutsu attacks of the mist ninjas. Do not stop. Attack them with all your might. Those two kids can only hide inside and take the hits. The mist ninjas, already having the upper hand, naturally did not wish to cease their attack, even resorting to various techniques and forming new hand seals to use their most powerful jutsu. What should we do? Uchiha Itachi, hidden within the protective circle of vines, quietly asked. If we let them attack from outside, then they won't be able to break through the wood-release defense. But Uchiha Itachi, with a look of concern, raised a critical question. Kakashi-senpai is still outside. What if they start to surround and attack Kakashi-senpai first? The two of them could avoid danger under the protection of the wood-release defense. But what about the group of mist ninjas outside, along with a Mizukage, ganging up on Hatake Kakashi? Hatake Kakashi. He might not be able to withstand it. Hatake Kakashi was already struggling. Just the water-release ninjutsu of the 4th Mizukage, Yagura, was enough to overwhelm Hatake Kakashi, making him feel like he could be drowned by the water-release jutsu at any moment. Whether it was chakra or water-release jutsu, the 4th Mizukage Yagura could use them effortlessly, and Kakashi knew that he could never be his match at sea. Hatake Kakashi, gasping for air, watched Yagura, who didn't even seem to change his breathing, and a sense of despair slowly welled up in him. We need to rescue Kakashi-senpai. Uchiha Itachi, observing the situation outside through the gaps in the vines, continued. This environment is not conducive to our fight. The sea is the water-release ninja's home turf. I feel that Kakashi-senpai is about to lose his strength. Then let's turn this place into our turf. Ekihara Kagura extended his hand and pressed it against a vine. Immense chakra began flowing through the vine, causing numerous vines and roots to extend beneath the water. Watch your step. Watch your step. Just at this moment, a mist ninja suddenly noticed a dark shadow appearing beneath the sea surface under their feet, startling them into loudly warning the others. However, it was too late to stop it. Countless thick branches emerged from beneath the sea, forming a net-like structure, densely woven together, transforming the area into a dominion of vines and roots. Everyone was forced to stand on the vines. The vines swiftly entangled around the bodies of the mist ninjas, binding them together and even continuously absorbing their chakra. The plants created by wood release. They don't rely on drawing nutrients from the earth through their roots, but grow from the life energy obtained from the chakra of the wood release ninja. Ekihara Kagura undid the defensive vines wrapped around the ship, calmly observing the new battlefield he created. Where I am, there the roots will be. Uchiha Itachi felt there was a double meaning in these words. However, regardless, Ekihara Kagura's preemptive defense bought them time, and using this gap, he controlled the wood release to change the tide of the battle. At least they and Kakashi were safe now. Before that, there was still a most troublesome enemy to deal with. The 4th Mizukage, Karatachi Yagura, had already leaped up from the vines, quickly jumping towards a safe area of the sea. His body in mid-air rapidly transformed, covered by a swirling mass of crimson, furious chakra. That is, Uchiha Itachi couldn't help but widen his eyes. The Jinchuriki. Hade Kakashi landed beside them, gravely answering the question. The Mizukage of Mist is a Jinchuriki, but it's unknown which one is inside him. Boom! The transformation of the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, is not yet complete. As the chakra of the Mizukage became increasingly wild, 3 spiky tails emerged first from behind him. In the next moment, as Yagura's body plunged into the sea, his transformation into a full-tailed beast was completed. A giant monster resembling a turtle, covered with a thick shell and bristling with spikes, floated on the water's surface. This is the 3 tails. Hade Kakashi's breathing became heavy again. Originally, Rin had the 3 tails implanted inside her by the Mist Village. Unexpectedly, this time in the Mist Village, he witnessed the true form of the 3 tails. A tailed beast comparable to the 9 tails. Uchiha Itachi recalled the painful destruction caused by the 9 tails in the Konoha village. There are differences among the tailed beasts, right? Akahara Kagura felt that there was still some difference between the 9 tails and the 3 tails. He even gave an example. It might be like the difference between me and Tenzo, the wood-release ninja, or between you and Uchiha Shisui, the Sharingan users. Silence. Hade Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi both turned their gaze to Akahara Kagura. It must be said, Akahara Kagura's comparisons were quite accurate, though not very flattering for the two of them. Don't look at me like that. Akahara Kagura raised his head and looked back at the giant 3 tails, saying, "Do you think there's something wrong with the thinking of the Mizukage of the Mist Village, transforming into a tailed beast in front of us? Hasn't he heard the story about the first Hokage capturing tailed beasts to make money? The first Hokage wasn't so superficial." Hade Kakashi pondered for a moment, then spoke slowly. "Perhaps, in the eyes of the Mizukage, there is also a difference between your wood-release and that of the first Hokage." Chapter 67, Kagura did it easily. You make a very valid point. Akahara Kagura strongly agreed with Hade Kakashi's words, raising his hand to swiftly gather the vines above the sea. "Then let it witness. The gap between my wood-release and that of the first Hokage." Roar! The 3 tails roared, slamming its tail heavily onto the sea surface. In this sea, even if the most formidable 9 tails of the ninja world were to appear, it would not be intimidated. Wave after wave surged towards Akahara Kagura. Wood release, wood dragon jutsu. A wooden dragon emerged, swimming against the waves. Standing atop the head of the wood dragon, Akahara Kagura could only exert his utmost control to navigate through the waves, preventing being overwhelmed by the engulfing sea. This is the power of a tailed beast. Itachi, standing behind Akahara Kagura, could not hide his astonishment. Water release is greatly enhanced at sea. Hade Kakashi, standing beside them, explained, "Moreover, the 3 tails is the tailed beast most skilled in water release techniques among the legendary 9. Hade Kakashi's gaze was primarily on the giant wood dragon below. Even having seen this jutsu before, it's still shocking every time. Hold tight. Akahara Kagura looked back at the 2 tourists observing the sea and raised his hand to control the massive wood dragon, charging towards the immense 3 tails. Next comes the most spectacular performance. Roar! The 3 tails roared, facing the charging wood dragon. Clusters of tiny chakra, like dust, rapidly converged in front of the 3 tails, gradually forming a purplish-black sphere. This is the tailed beast bomb. By condensing the chakra of the tailed beasts with yin-yang attributes in a 28 ratio, one can manifest the simplest and most powerful technique that a tailed beast can release. Fortunately, the 3 tails is not fast at condensing the tailed beast bomb. Akahara Kagura quickly brought his hands together, and the wooden dragon's head slowly transformed. A pair of wooden dragon horns grew on its head, its mouth rapidly enlarged, and its body slowly sprouted thick tree roots. These roots quickly converged to form 4 huge dragon claws. This wooden dragon now looked quite different from the first Hokage's wood dragon technique. Instead, it resembled the Eastern dragon from the legends of Akahara Kagura's previous life. This is... Hatake Kakashi looked around curiously. Oh, I am trying to improve the wood dragon technique. After further evolving his wood-release Kekkei Genkai, Akahara Kagura had always wanted to find an opportunity to develop his bloodline limit. Now he was just making preliminary changes to the shape of the wood dragon technique. This, in the middle of a battle, Kakashi's eyelids twitched as he couldn't help but say, improving a ninjutsu during a fight isn't that risky. The technique that the Three Tails is about to release is very dangerous. Akahara Kagura calmly interrupted Kakashi. That's why this is a necessary improvement based on the technique it's about to release. When the wooden dragon swiftly moved next to the Three Tails finally completed the condensation of the Tailed Beast Bomb. In an instant, it sprayed the Tailed Beast Bomb at the wooden dragon's head. Be careful! Hatake Kakashi tightly grabbed Akahara Kagura and Uchiha Itachi, wanting to take the two of them and jump off the wooden dragon's head. Don't worry. Akahara Kagura's expression remained calm. Suddenly, the wooden dragon raised its body and grabbed the Tailed Beast Bomb with a huge dragon claw, pressing it down towards the Three Tails like catching a ball. The wooden dragon's claw tightly gripped the Tailed Beast Bomb, continuously absorbing the chakra within it, controlling the rhythm of the bomb's explosion. Under the wooden dragon's claw, the Tailed Beast Bomb slowly turned into a glowing orb that could explode at any moment, potentially blowing away everything around it. The wooden dragon, holding the about to explode Tailed Beast Bomb, firmly pressed it against the Three Tails. The light of the explosion shone dazzlingly in an instant. Boom! The entire sea surface trembled. The Three Tails was in agony, howling in pain as it was blasted by its own Tailed Beast Bomb. The three people standing atop the wooden dragon were also tossed about by the blast wave. However, the wooden dragon seemed unharmed, slowly coiling its body around the Three Tails, tightly wrapping around it. The Three Tails struggled violently. The two colossal creatures clashed fiercely on the sea's surface. The Three Tails violently swung its three tails, smashing them like hammers onto the wooden dragon's body, breaking a part of it and scattering splinters everywhere. However, the wooden dragon's body was rapidly healing. Because it was not a summoned creature, but formed by the transformation of wood-release chakra, its body could quickly regenerate under the flow of wood-release chakra. Numerous vines and roots grew from the tail of the wooden dragon, binding the Three Tails' three tails to prevent further trouble. The Three Tails' chakra was being rapidly absorbed by the wooden dragon. Wood release is called the bane of the tailed beasts because it can absorb their chakra, weakening their combat power more and more. The Three Tails desperately shook its head, trying to do something in this dire situation, twisting its body violently, attempting to roll back into the sea. The wooden dragon's head quickly approached the Three Tails, a dragon claw fiercely extending from below, locking onto the Three Tails' throat, rendering it unable to move its head. The Three Tails could no longer make any moves. The battle is over. When the wooden dragon subdued the Three Tails, Akahara Kagura declared the end of the battle. Not all tailed beasts could resist the art of the wooden dragon. As expected, the strength of the Three Tails weakened more and more as the wooden dragon absorbed its chakra. This massive tailed beast, under the onslaught of the wooden dragon, couldn't withstand for even a few minutes and was completely suppressed, unable to resist in any way. If Yagura, the fourth Mizukage, had fought in human form, Akahara Kagura would probably have had to spend more time and effort. But Yagura, facing Akahara Kagura's wood release, foolishly thought he could confront him in his strongest tailed beast form. Boom! A puff of smoke arose. The Three Tails gradually lost its strength and its massive body dissipated in an instant. The small figure of the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, appeared, lying weakly and motionless on the sea surface. Is it over already? Hatake Kakashi felt an inexplicable sensation. Is it over already? Uchiha Itachi echoed Kakashi's words. Originally, they thought the battle between the Three Tails and the Wood Dragon would be a tough one. They didn't expect that Akahara Kagura's Wood Dragon would defeat the Three Tails so swiftly. Don't think it was easy. This is because I improved the Wood Dragon technique. Akahara Kagura was quite satisfied with his modification of the Wood Dragon technique. If he hadn't modified the Wood Dragon's body shape on the spur of the moment, just the proximity of the tailed beast bomb would have been troublesome enough. Akahara Kagura raised his finger, continuing to control the Wood Dragon, which grew vines from its body. These vines wrapped around the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, on the sea surface and slowly brought him to the trio. Hade Kakashi became somewhat silent. The situation seemed to have suddenly become complicated. They were originally on a mission from the Mist Village to track Uchiha Obaido, but instead of conducting their reconnaissance, they ended up capturing the leader of the Mist Village. The problem is, they've captured the Mizukage. Should they continue to infiltrate the Mist Village for reconnaissance? Let's deal with the trouble at hand first. Akahara Kagura turned to Hade Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi. The Mizukage can't resist anymore. Can you control him with genjutsu to prevent any trouble on the way? The fourth Mizukage, Yagura, strained to open his eyes wide, staring intently at Akahara Kagura, not as if looking at a demon, but as if looking at a savior. Chapter 68, Good idea, I send you on your way. Due to the defeat in this battle, Yagura, the fourth Mizukage, felt that his chakra was almost exhausted, and even the hypnotic control over himself and the three tails inside him was loosening. This was undoubtedly an opportunity to break free from the control of the Sharingan. Even though Yagura, the fourth Mizukage, knew that Akahara Kagura and Hade Kakashi were enemies from Konoha, following the mysterious masked man's orders to stop the ninjas from Konoha, Yagura guessed that these individuals were not in league with the mysterious masked man, as long as they were not allied enemies. For Yagura, continuing to live and maintain his position as the fourth Mizukage was more torturous than death. What worse could happen in this world? Let me do it. Hade Kakashi volunteered to step forward. Although Uchiha Itachi was the true member of the Uchiha clan, Hade Kakashi was older and had used the Sharingan for a longer time. Hade Kakashi removed his eye patch, revealing crimson eyes with three black tamo reflected in them, staring intently at Yagura, the fourth Mizukage. The next moment, Hade Kakashi's expression changed dramatically. Looking at Yagura, the fourth Mizukage, Hade Kakashi exclaimed in surprise, Someone has already cast a genjutsu of the Sharingan on him. What? Akahara Kagura also showed a timely expression of surprise. How is that possible? Uchiha Itachi also looked at Yagura, the fourth Mizukage, in shock and disbelief, saying, someone can cast a genjutsu on the Mizukage of Mist Village. But that was the truth. Without needing much speculation, Hade Kakashi guessed it was the doing of Obaido and immediately dispelled the genjutsu on Yagura, the fourth Mizukage. Thank you. Yagura, the fourth Mizukage, regained consciousness. The first thing the Mizukage did upon regaining consciousness was to thank them. Ah, you're welcome. Hade Kakashi, somewhat embarrassed, took the initiative to ask, Lord Mizukage, was it Obaido who cast the genjutsu on you? Obaido, who is that? The fourth Mizukage, Yagura, rubbed his forehead, still somewhat confused about the situation. He didn't know what the man wearing the mysterious mask looked like. Just a guy wearing a mask, Akahara Kagura quickly reminded him, adding, that person always wears a mask, only revealing a Sharingan eye outside of it. Oh, Yagura immediately realized and nodded, saying, right, his face is always covered with a tiger-striped mask, concealing his true identity. Is Obaido in the Mist Village? Hade Kakashi immediately asked the question he was most concerned about. Still there, Yagura nodded swiftly and asked, do you know him? He's a ninja from Konoha, right? Kakashi seemed somewhat embarrassed, apparently unable to refute, and quietly explained, his name is Uchiha Obaido. He's a rogue ninja from our village. Although Kakashi didn't want to admit it, the Konoha village would definitely classify Uchiha Obaido as a rogue ninja, and he couldn't claim that Obaido was still a legitimate ninja of the Konoha. Ninja from the Konoha? Yagura seemed to hint at something in his words. Hey kid! Ekihara Kagura knocked his fingers, tapping forcefully on Yagura's head. Face the reality, you're our prisoner now from Konoha. Yagura, covering the back of his head, turned back to look at Ekihara Kagura, glaring at him. Kid, I might be older than your father. Yagura, who looked very young, was actually quite old, and he even had a son. Such a child. Ekihara Kagura squatted down with interest, gently touching his forehead. Little children all like to fiercely pretend to be adults. Hiss! The fourth Mizukage, Yagura, immediately bared his teeth and grimaced, showing a fierce expression. Ha! Ekihara Kagura watched the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, with a smile, making the Mizukage even angrier. That makes you look even more like a child. All right, all right. Hadake Kakashi quickly pulled Ekihara Kagura back and asked, Lord Mizukage, can you take us to find Uchiha Obaido? We need to bring him back to the Konoha village. This. The fourth Mizukage, Yagura, frowned. Actually, the Mizukage would have preferred to kill Uchiha Obaido, who had controlled him and caused the deaths of so many people in the Mist Village, forcing many skilled ninjas to defect. The more the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, thought about it, the angrier he got, even forgetting that he was still under the control of the Konoha ninjas. I'll go back and kill him and you can have his body. Hadake Kakashi couldn't help but be a bit speechless. He had come to the Mist Village to investigate Uchiha Obaido's whereabouts, tracking him down. Wasn't it all to ensure Uchiha Obaido was alive? How can you still not understand the situation? Ekihara Kagura patted his head, turning to Hadake Kakashi. Captain Kakashi, why ask him so much? Let's just capture Uchiha Obaido first, then take him back to the Konoha village along with the Mizukage. Coming out here. Shouldn't we bring some spoils of war back? Hadake Kakashi had not anticipated this situation. Their original purpose was to investigate the whereabouts of Uchiha Obaido, but they unexpectedly discovered his traces so quickly. They hadn't considered taking the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, back with them. After all, this was the Mizukage of the Mist Village. If they tried to take him back, the ninja of the Mist Village would probably go crazy. Could they withstand the Mist Ninja attacking from all sides? Moreover, only a few years had passed since the end of the Third Great Ninja War. A conflict between the Konoha and the Mist Village would surely reignite the war and bring great trouble to their village, wouldn't it? Do you intend to take me back to the Konoha village as a prisoner? The expression on the face of the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, turned ugly. He had initially thought that everyone was against Uchiha Obaido and thus could work together. If these Konoha ninjas really intended to do that, then the Mist Village would be nailed to the pillar of shame. Throughout the wars, no cage of any village had ever been captured, because a cage only dies in battle. There have been numerous cages who died in wars, but none had ever been captured. Why can't we take you to the Konoha village? Ekihara Kagura was somewhat curious, looking at him in surprise, and continued, You, as the Mizukage, were controlled by Uchiha Obaido. You probably didn't contribute much to the Mist Village while you were alive. Perhaps taking you as a prisoner would actually be a good thing for the Mist Village. Yagura was at a loss for words. The young ninja was right. Being a prisoner in the Konoha village would be much better than staying in the Mist Village, as he had no face to show to his villagers. No, that's wrong. Yagura's eyes suddenly became fierce, and he said coldly, I have a better choice. I can choose to die. Do you want to die here? Ekihara Kagura was stunned for a moment, then suddenly raised his thumb up towards Yagura, seemingly admiring his idea. The Mist Village will surely think that we killed their Mizukage. Won't that start a war between the two villages? I quite like killing. There are no restrictions on killing in battle. While speaking, Ekihara Kagura drew his ninja sword, smiling at Yagura. This is a good idea, I'll send you on your way. Chapter 69, Plans on the Captured Cage. Hey, calm down. Hadake Kakashi was caught off guard and scared when he heard Akahara Kagura's reason for wanting to kill the fourth Mizukage Yagura, and he hurriedly grabbed Kagura's wrist. "Calm down, Kagura-kun." Uchiha Itachi was also frightened and quickly stopped Akahara Kagura. After all, Uchiha Itachi had been taken to the battlefield by his father when he was 4 years old, and he knew very well the bloody scenes of the Great Ninja War. How can this temporary teammate be so extreme? Are all the root ninjas under Shimura Danzo's command such characters who are eager to kill and create chaos? The fourth Mizukage Yagura was also frightened by Akahara Kagura's thought process. Why does this kid want to start a war so casually? The fourth Mizukage Yagura's thought of committing suicide was instantly dispelled. His existence has always been a disaster. He couldn't bring a war to the Mist Village on his deathbed. "Don't forget our mission." Hadake Kakashi tightly held Akahara Kagura's wrist and continued to persuade in a deep voice. "Kagura, we still need him to help us find Abaido." Akahara Kagura's eyes flickered, and he said in a deep voice, "Anyway, we already know that Uchiha Abaido is in the Land of Water." The noise from the recent battle was so loud that Uchiha Abaido probably noticed and escaped. There's no need to keep the Mizukage anymore. Hadake Kakashi frowned and quickly realized, continuing to say, "We can take the Mizukage back to Konoha, but how to deal with the Mizukage is a major issue and can only be handled by the third Hokage." His purpose in stopping Akahara Kagura was not only to find Uchiha Abaido, but more to prevent a war between the Mist Village and Konoha. And moreover, Hadake Kakashi's gaze turned to the distant land, pondering, "Even if Abaido didn't escape, it's now very difficult for us to sneak in for reconnaissance." The recent battle noise was so loud, the Mist Village must have realized there's an external invasion and will be on high alert. In this situation, if they go to the Mist Village for reconnaissance, the chances of finding Uchiha Abaido are slim. But not going for a reconnaissance at the Mist Village also feels regrettable. What if Uchiha Abaido is still hiding there? Akahara Kagura raised his hand and pointed at the fourth Mizukage Yagura, suggesting, "We could hang this Mizukage up and make him knock on the doors of the Mist Village, ordering the ninjas of the village not to resist, and we go search the Mist Village." A bead of cold sweat ran down Hadake Kakashi's forehead. He reached up to wipe it away and said, "Wait, this doesn't seem like reconnaissance, does it? Isn't searching and scouting essentially the same?" Akahara Kagura raised an eyebrow and continued, "Anyway, we've already alarmed them, so it's unlikely we'll achieve anything now. It's just a matter of doing a cursory search, whatever is convenient." As Akahara Kagura said this, he added, "Captain Kakashi, even if we hide our identities and let this Mizukage lead us into the Mist Village, who knows if he'll suddenly expose our identities, putting us in danger?" Akahara Kagura spread his hands and concluded, "Rather than that, it's better for us to reveal ourselves and use this Mizukage to threaten the Mist Village to let us conduct our search. This could provoke a conflict between Konoha and the Mist Village." Uchiha Itachi, standing nearby, expressed his concern, worrying it could bring trouble to the village. "We've already captured the Mizukage." Akahara Kagura sighed and looked at the fourth Mizukage Yagura. "Do you think Lord Mizukage will forget today's humiliation?" The fourth Mizukage Yagura didn't want to speak. Actually, Yagura didn't hate Hadake Kakashi and his group, even feeling grateful to them for releasing him from the genjutsu. But this young kid named Akahara Kagura was really unpleasant to listen to. Originally, Yagura hadn't thought being captured was a bad thing, but after Akahara Kagura's words, he suddenly felt indeed humiliated. "Look," Akahara Kagura pointed at Yagura's face, indicating for them to see, "the Mizukage has already started to bear a grudge against us." Hadake Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi looked over at the same time. The expression on the face of Yagura, the fourth Mizukage, was visibly crumbling, with a furious cross almost popping out on his forehead, yet he couldn't find the words to forgive them. If he said he didn't feel humiliated, that would be too embarrassing. "Let's go. We'll investigate the Mist Village." Ekihara Kagura raised his hand to control a vine, lifting Yagura, the fourth Mizukage, back up, and controlled the wooden dragon to move towards the land of water, on a reef by the coast. Uchiha Obaido had been observing the battle by the seaside. Uchiha Obaido sent Yagura, the fourth Mizukage, to stop Hatake Kakashi's team because there was no stronger ninja than Yagura in the Mist Village. Not long after, Uchiha Obaido saw a scene of the wooden dragon capturing the three tails. The elite squad of the Mist Village, led by Yagura, the fourth Mizukage, was completely defeated by Hatake Kakashi and others, with the main combatant being his spy, Ekihara Kagura. If only he had known. He should have had a good talk with that kid. Would release, huh? A pitcher plant monster, standing beside Uchiha Obaido, spoke in a hoarse voice with its black half-face. That kid dealt with the three tails Jinchuriki so quickly. The affairs of the Mist Village are about to be exposed. The white half-face said with a grin, looking at Uchiha Obaido, "It's still our man who dealt with the fourth Mizukage we controlled. Obaido, we must take that kid seriously." The black half-face continued in a sinister, hoarse voice. "The Eye of the Moon plan needs his power. His wood release is perfect for capturing the tailed beasts." "I know." Uchiha Obaido glanced at the pitcher plant monster beside him and said in a deep voice, "Zetsu, send a white Zetsu clone to follow that kid Ekihara Kagura so he can keep in touch with us at any time to avoid any further conflicts." Uchiha Obaido felt that he had made some miscalculations. From now on, he must pay attention to that kid and establish a channel of communication with him to prevent the kid from harming his subordinates again. Similarly, the identity of the Konoha spy is really important. As the strongest village in the ninja world, Konoha should not be underestimated. It is essential to utilize Ekihara Kagura's spy identity effectively to alter the judgments of Hatake Kakashi and Konoha and prevent Konoha from uncovering something that could impact their plans. "Okay." The pitcher plant monster quickly nodded its head. "Send a smarter white Zetsu." The black half of the pitcher plant monster's face calmly reminded, "Don't send idiots. That kid likes killing and is somewhat lawless." "I understand." The white half of the pitcher plant monster's face agreed and then asked Uchiha Obaido, "Shall we return to Mist Village? Our control over Mist Village must have been completely exposed by now." "HMPH," Uchiha Obaido snorted, and a whirlpool of space-time appeared in his eyes, instantly absorbing his body. "This is my mistake. Allowing that guy Kakashi to take advantage of Kagura and win a battle. Next time, without Kagura's help, that waste will definitely not be so lucky again." Chapter 70. All right, okay, got it. Land of Water. At the guard post of the Mist Village, a group of vigilant mist ninjas were in a state of disarray as they looked at the wooden dragon by the sea, and even more so at the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, who was suspended between the two horns of the dragon by vines. Ekihara Kagura stood atop the dragon's head, speaking leisurely. "Lord Mizukage, command them to clear the way. You don't want to see them sacrifice in vain, do you?" The fourth Mizukage Yagura looked at the group of mist ninjas below. The highest ranking among them was only a Chunin ninja, no match for Ekihara Kagura and his companions. "Clear the way." The fourth Mizukage Yagura, his face twisted in humiliation, issued his command. "Lord Mizukage." The group of mist ninjas looked up at the fourth Mizukage, their emotions running high. "I said clear the way." The fourth Mizukage Yagura issued his command once again. "Yes." The group of mist ninjas, filled with anger, began to disperse, watching the wooden dragon head towards the direction of the Mist Village. "Admirable, Lord Mizukage." Ekihara Kagura quietly praised the fourth Mizukage's authority. "Bastard!" The fourth Mizukage Yagura cursed in anger. The news of the capture of the fourth Mizukage Yagura quickly spread within the Mist Village. The leaderless mist ninjas had no choice but to ask the village's Genji to take charge. Genji. In terms of position, he was akin to an elder of the Mist Village, possessing power equivalent to the Mizukage, and even the authority to appoint the Mizukage. Genji immediately issued an order to rescue the Mizukage. At any cost, rescuing Yagura was the top priority. After all, the fourth Mizukage was not just the village leader but also an essential jinchuriki, vital to the village and could not be lost. Facing an opponent who was a wood-release ninja, should they allow such a powerful adversary to wreak havoc in the land of water just because of his strength? As Ekihara Kagura, controlling the wooden dragon, was about to reach the Mist Village, he encountered a group of ninjas sent by Genji of the Mist Village on a mission to rescue the fourth Mizukage. So many people! Ekihara Kagura looked at a group of Mist Shinobi and exclaimed, "There must be at least a few hundred of them. It will take quite some time to kill them all." "Don't always think about solving problems by killing," Hatake Kakashi said somewhat helplessly to Ekihara Kagura, softly adding, "If problems can be solved through negotiation, that would be ideal." After all, the other party is one of the 5 great ninja villages. If it really comes to a fight to the death, it would be a big problem. "Release the Mizukage." A man, looking like a team leader, stood in the middle of the road, staring intently at the enormous wooden dragon and shouted at the huge creature, "Or today you will die." Bang! A female ninja kicked him away. "Idiot!" This female ninja cursed the team leader under her breath. The most powerful Mizukage of the village was captured by the enemy, and they still wanted to threaten them. Were they trying to sacrifice the fourth Mizukage directly? However, this was actually not a bad thing. After all, the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, was not thinking clearly. He was killing people all over the village, even turning many of the village's ninjas against him, leading to numerous conflicts within the Mist Village. But, when all is said and done, Yagura is still the Mizukage of the Mist Village, representing the image of the village, and even has a tailed beast, a strategic weapon of great importance to the village, sealed inside him. No matter how terrible the governing policies of this fourth Mizukage were, he was still very important to the currently leaderless Mist Village. Everyone might not approve of his way of ruling, but they had to admit that the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, was strong enough to control the Mist Village. Although, after today, that might no longer be the case. "Hey!" This female ninja was more clear-headed. She had more comprehensive thoughts than the others and shouted at the figures on the wooden dragon, "Let's talk the purpose of your visit to the land of water. No matter what you want to do, just release the Mizukage first. Whatever demands you have, we will consider them." That is, Terumi Mei. The fourth Mizukage, Yagura, recognized the person who came to rescue him. As a genius female ninja of the Mist Village, Terumi Mei had received a lot of attention from a young age. Not only was she exceptionally skilled in water-release ninjutsu, but she also possessed the Kekkei Genkai of lava release and boil release. However, due to the terrifying effects of Terumi Mei's Kekkei Genkai, coupled with the deep-seated contradictions between the Kekkei Genkai ninja and non-Kekkei Genkai ninja within the Mist Village, no one has dared to pursue her. "Should we negotiate with them?" Uchiha Itachi looked towards Hatake Kakashi and Ekihara Kagura. "If the problem can be solved through negotiation." Hatake Kakashi has always been reluctant to escalate the conflict with the Mist Village. The ideas of Ekihara Kagura were so righteous that it even seemed reasonable to him. But the situation now seemed somewhat out of control. "Let me do the talking." Ekihara Kagura suddenly stood up, looking down at the group of Mist ninjas below, and loudly declared, "If you want us to release the Mizukage, there are 2 conditions, either of which will do." Ekihara Kagura stroked his chin, smiling as he continued, "Either hand over the rogue ninja from Konoha, Uchiha Obito, or let us search the Mist Village to find out where he is." Terumi Mei breathed a sigh of relief and immediately turned to ask, "Ow, have any rogue ninjas from Konoha, especially from the Uchiha clan, sought refuge with us recently? Quickly send someone to check the village for a Konoha rogue ninja named Uchiha Obito." "There's no such person," Ao, who always had the latest intelligence, replied with his head down. "Places like the Mist Village, isolated overseas and notorious as the village of the Bloody Mist, have never been popular destinations for defectors. That Konoha rogue ninja named Uchiha Obito, coming from the prestigious Uchiha clan of Konoha, would definitely be a piece of intelligence that Ao would remember." I understand. After nodding, Terumi turned back to look at the wooden dragon's head, staring at the black-haired young man who had stepped forward and began fabricating her own intelligence. Because of your arrival, that Konoha rogue ninja named Uchiha Abido has fled from the Mist Village. He has stolen quite a bit of information while here, and we are also tracking his whereabouts. Atop the wooden dragon's head, Hatake Kakashi, supporting his forehead, said in a low voice, "As expected, our battle has alerted Uchiha Abido, and he has already fled from the Mist Village. Perhaps." Akihara Kagura glanced at Terumi below and continued loudly, "If you can't hand over Uchiha Abido, then why should we return the Mizukage to you? Are you ninjas from Konoha?" Terumi looked up at the youth and suddenly smiled softly. "Little guy, both our villages want to capture Uchiha Abido. Now, capturing the Mizukage doesn't help you much. It's more beneficial for us to cooperate and exchange information." On top of the wooden dragon, Hatake Kakashi slowly nodded and whispered, "She makes sense. We have foiled Uchiha Abido's plot to control the Mizukage, and we have obtained information about Abido from within the Mist Village. Our mission here is accomplished." "Perhaps it is." Actually, Akihara Kagura's goal was also achieved. For Akihara Kagura, as long as Uchiha Abido's plot is thwarted and Abido learns to value the energy this spy can bring, that's enough. But it's a bit strange. How does Terumi have information on Uchiha Abido? When Abido acts, he does so under the identity of a masked man. Even if she found out, she shouldn't be able to recognize him, right? Akihara Kagura's brain worked, secretly observing Terumi's situation with the ninja in the shadows, eavesdropping on her conversation with those around her. Terumi shouted loudly towards the wooden dragon, "Ninjas of Konoha, can you release the Mizukage now? I can come up and tell you the information about Uchiha Abido." After saying this, Terumi turned to Ao behind her and whispered, "In a while, if they dare let me jump onto the wooden dragon, command the others to cast the mist technique collectively, enveloping this place. I'll take advantage of the dense fog to rescue the Mizukage." Akihara Kagura tapped his arm slowly. Chapter 71, Overestimating Oneself. "Female ninja, come up here." A vine stretched down from the wooden dragon. This thick vine slowly descended in front of Terumi. Akihara Kagura controlled the vine to bind Terumi, loudly saying, "Do not resist, I won't harm you. Our only target is Uchiha Abido." Terumi bit her lip, her fingers lightly tapping in a gesture of forming hand seals, allowing the vine to bind her, believing she could break free at any moment. This was an underestimation of wood release. The moment the vine bound Terumi, it suddenly retracted rapidly, absorbing the chakra from her body. "No, my chakra." Terumi quickly felt the loss of chakra within her. This woman wanted to use ninjutsu to break free from the bonds, but the tightening force of the vine suddenly increased, seemingly able to kill her even faster. "Aren't you here to negotiate?" Akihara Kagura spoke indifferently, once again reminding, "Don't worry, we definitely won't harm you." Terumi's heart tightened. The key point was that she planned to harm them. Terumi was very clear that she didn't have any information on Uchiha Abido. She just wanted to take this opportunity to rescue the fourth Mizukage. Lava release, melting apparition. Terumi suddenly spat out a stream of acid. The acid, highly corrosive, quickly dissolved the vine, allowing Terumi to break free from her bonds, and she shouted out loud, "Ao, take action! Water release, hiding in mist technique." A group of mist ninjas quickly formed hand seals simultaneously, exhaling a dense fog from their mouths, instantly shrouding the entire area in mist. Boil release, skilled mist technique. Terumi, taking advantage of the spreading mist for cover, directed a breath of acidic mist towards the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, silently corroding the vines binding him. The other mist ninjas swiftly launched an attack on the wooden dragon, a group of them rapidly climbing onto it, much like ants trying to overpower an elephant. "They're not here for negotiations." Uchiha Itachi immediately entered combat mode. "Be careful, someone is coming up." Hatake Kakashi drew his kunai. Tusk, I underestimated her. Ekahara Kagura was already prepared, moving faster than them. Vines rapidly covered the wooden dragon, draping it in a layer of fishnet-like scales. The mist ninjas climbing up were bound by the vines. Byakugan, activate! Ao, who had been coordinating the battle from the ground, stared intently into the mist. His Byakugan could see every moving figure within it. Back then, during the war between Mist and Konoha, Mist had fortuitously obtained a usable Byakugan from a member of the Hyuga clan's main family, the only Byakugan ever lost by Konoha's Hyuga clan. Ao, noting the chakra changes on the wooden dragon, and aware that the controller had to be cautious of other Mist ninjas, urgently urged. Other squads continue the attack. Cover for Terumi Mei, the Jonin. Atop the wooden dragon, Terumi Mei's agile body dodged through the gaps in the vines, finally reaching the top of the wooden dragon, confronting the group of enemies who had caused this disaster. A white-haired man, two black-haired youths. Considering their ages, it was hard to believe that this small team had caused such chaos in the land of water, even bringing shame to Mist. This doesn't look like they came for negotiations. Ekahara Kagura chuckled softly, looking at Hatake Kakashi. Captain Kakashi, we want peace, but the Mist Village doesn't seem interested in a peaceful resolution. Hatake Kakashi was also somewhat at a loss for words. The actions of the Mist Village were indeed too self-contradictory. He had just been thinking about negotiating with the Mist Village, mutually exchanging information about Uchiha Obito. But instead, they exploited their goodwill, using their desire to negotiate as an opportunity to launch an attack. See what I mean? Ekahara Kagura began to disparage the enemy's reputation. Our kindness towards the enemy is always exploited by them. We must go back and tell Lord Danzo and the Third Hokage that the Mist Village is a despicable ninja village, incapable of any form of communication. This is not our intention. Terumi Mei quickly interrupted Ekahara Kagura, shaking her head and saying, Konoha ninja, it's you who have gone too far. We are not opposed to negotiation. But Ekahara Kagura interrupted her, exposing her thoughts. However, your precondition for negotiation is for us to return the fourth Mizukage to you, and the best terms you offer are that you don't have to give anything in return, while we have to agree to some terms that are favorable to you. Terumi Mei was at a loss for words. Isn't this what everyone thinks during negotiations? I have my doubts. Ekahara Kagura smiled with a hint of mockery in his eyes. Even if I return the fourth Mizukage to you, can you really provide the information on Uchiha Obito? Of course. Terumi Mei quickly nodded, but then smilingly changed the subject. We should first talk about your invasion of the land of water. Now she just needed to stall for time here, distracting this squad so that her boil release could corrode the vines holding the fourth Mizukage, Yagura. You're right. Ekahara Kagura slowly nodded, then suddenly asked in return, We invaded the land of water and then what? Do you have any objections? Terumi Mei clenched her teeth, feeling as if her tightly wound nerves were about to snap. This damn kid, of course, we have objections. The third great ninja war has already ended. Terumi Mei forcefully demanded herself to remain calm and continued. Your invasion will provoke a war between the Konoha and the Mist Villages. We are just scouting. Hatake Kakashi found it difficult to continue. So what if it leads to a war? Ekahara Kagura tilted his head slightly, seemingly puzzled. The strongest Mizukage of yours is no match for me. How could he be a match for our third Hokage of the Konoha? War will result in many deaths. Terumi Mei bit her teeth, feeling that she could hardly stall for time anymore. She was about to lose her patience and start a fight right there due to the self-righteous tone of this youngster. The ninjas of the Konoha do not fear sacrifice. Ekahara Kagura answered on behalf of the Konoha village. Hatake Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi exchanged glances, both feeling that something was amiss, but they also felt there was some logic in Ekahara Kagura's words. The ninjas of the Konoha, indeed, do not fear sacrifice. Crack, the sound of a vine breaking suddenly caught their attention. The vines binding the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, broke apart and his body fell swiftly from the dragon horn, about to land on the head of the wooden dragon. Terumi quickly leapt up. However, before she could reach mid-air, two vines blocked her path, binding her waist tightly, forcefully restraining her. Boom! Terumi body instantly turned into a splash of water. That's a water clone. Hadake Kakashi scanned the surroundings, somewhat amazed by the speed of the opponent. How fast? When did she use a water clone? Quite a while ago, I guess. Terumi suddenly appeared behind Ikahara Kagura, her wrist fiercely tightening around Ikahara Kagura's neck. Smiling, she spoke. Now, can you return Lord Mizukage to us? Of course not. As Ikahara Kagura spoke, his body slowly transformed into a large tree. When did you ever think that I was the real one? The tree rapidly grew, its branches quickly entwining around Terumi body, binding the formidable female ninja to the tree. Chapter 72, Who on earth is this Abido? Is this a wooden clone? Terumi was somewhat surprised at the opponent's ability to use wood clones. This is based on my wood dragon technique. The real body of Ikahara Kagura appeared behind the big tree and explained indifferently. When you tried to release a water clone to dodge the vines, I had already released a wood clone. Nothing escapes my perception in this area where no chakra flow can be hidden. You've been stalling for time, waiting for this moment, right? Ikahara Kagura walked to Terumi side and asked in amazement, but I guessed you might choose to take the weakest among us hostage. I didn't expect you to take the strongest. Hadake Kakashi's eyelids twitched. Had this kid already assumed he was the strongest in the team? If judged by actual combat strength, this kid wasn't exactly wrong. Uchiha Itachi never considered himself the strongest, but his expression turned somewhat strange, knowing he was the weakest among them. Cease the attack! Suddenly, a voice came through the mist. Ao, who had been coordinating the battle, saw through his Byakugan that Terumi had been captured. Frightened, he immediately ordered everyone to stop attacking. This attack was originally meant to cover for Terumi, but with her capture, continuing the attack would be futile and only add to the casualties. The most troublesome part was, Ao felt that they no longer had any formidable fighters to rely on. The 7 ninja swordsmen of the Mist, the most powerful in the Mist Village, had defected under the high-pressure policy. The younger generation had not yet matured, and even if there were capable individuals, they might not be willing to come to the rescue of the 4th Mizukage. This Mizukage was too unpopular. To be honest, even among the troops he led to rescue the Mizukage, most were merely following orders and many disliked the bloody Mist policy. Ao gritted his teeth and sternly instructed the ninjas beside him. Go report to Lord Genji that our attack is not going well. The enemy is from Konoha. I hope to negotiate with them. As long as we can rescue Lord Mizukage and Lady Terumi. The implication of this statement was, no matter what conditions the enemy proposes, it is best for them to agree to all. Compared to other Mist Ninja, Ao's character is extremely calm and he is very measured in his actions. When facing an enemy he cannot defeat, he chooses to retreat rather than make unnecessary sacrifices. Of course, this is not something he, a mere Jonin, can decide on his own. Konoha Ninja. After Ao had arranged everything, he raised his head and shouted towards Wooden Dragon, "Please stop this meaningless battle for now. I have already asked for permission from the village's great elder. We can negotiate any demands as long as the safety of the Mizukage and Jonin Terumi is assured." On the Wooden Dragon's head. Uchiha Itachi, observing the vast mist and then glancing at Terumi, tied to a tree and the 4th Mizukage Yagura being rehung, curiously asked, "How did they know this female ninja was captured by us? Does the Mist Village have such a powerful sensory ninja? Probably that Byakugan killer from the Mist Village." Hadake Kakashi began to enlighten his 2 subordinates. It's noted in the village's S-rank wanted list that the Jonin Ao of the Mist Village obtained a Byakugan from the Hyuga clan's main family left on the battlefield during the 3rd Great Ninja War. Can the Byakugan be lost? Uchiha Itachi took a deep breath. Knowing some secrets of the Hyuga clan, a fellow prestigious ninja clan with Kekkei Genkai, Itachi was aware of the extreme measures the Hyuga main family took to protect the Byakugan. They used a curse mark called the Caged Bird to prevent the Byakugan of the branch family from being leaked. Upon the death of a branch family member, their Byakugan would be destroyed. This curse mark also allowed the main family to completely control the branch family members, even treating them as slaves. Anything can happen on the battlefield. Hadake Kakashi thought it was not surprising that such a thing could happen. When he mentioned the Hyuga clan, he suddenly remembered something, and a drop of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. Kaguya! Hadake Kakashi's face slowly turned colder. There was an unknown darkness in the eyes of this member of Konoha's Anbu, and he did not want to convey this darkness from the village's higher-ups. The last time Konoha and Cloud Village had a conflict, an envoy from Cloud Village attempted to steal the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan. The head of the Hyuga clan killed the intruder. Despite the Hyuga clan being on the side of justice, they were forced by the higher-ups in the village to hand over a dead body. What about this time? If Mist Village demands that Konoha hand over Akihara Kaguya, the third Hokage might not refuse the request, even though Mist Village seems quite weakened. But Mist Village is one of the great ninja villages. As long as it can protect the stability of Konoha and maintain peace, everything can be sacrificed, no matter who it is. Even a powerful would-release ninja. As long as it prevents Konoha, currently troubled internally and externally, from facing the threat of Mist Village, the higher-ups in the village might not be willing to protect Akihara Kaguya, and might even let Akihara Kaguya make a self-sacrifice. Hadake Kakashi cannot just sit back and watch all this happen. This time they were out on a mission, and Hadake Kakashi was somewhat grateful to Akihara Kaguya for offering help, otherwise he might have died at the hands of the fourth Mizukage. It's about time things have come to this. Hadake Kakashi shook his head and began to persuade the kid. Kaguya, we can't bring a dangerous Jinchuriki back to Konoha. Perhaps it's a cycle of fate. Last time his teammate Rin had the three tails implanted in her, and to avoid harming Konoha, she chose to die by his hand. This time, Hadake Kakashi felt he had reached another pivotal point in his fate. Dangerous. Akihara Kaguya looked at the fourth Mizukage Yagura and couldn't help but tilt his head. Even Uchiha Obaido could control him, and even I, a Chunin, managed to capture him. Hadake Kakashi was somewhat speechless, then argued. Danger is not calculated like that. A tailed beast is ultimately a dangerous entity for the village. Then keep him under Lord Danzo's root division. Akihara Kaguya immediately found a task for his superior, feeling obliged to help Shimura Danzo. Lord Danzo is so skilled in cursed seals, he must have a way to deal with the Mizukage. Of course, Akihara Kaguya had his own considerations. If his superior, Shimura Danzo, couldn't handle this trouble, then it would be up to him, the subordinate, to solve it. Hadake Kakashi was somewhat at a loss. Terumi Mei, who had been tied to a tree, looked somewhat displeased. In the ninja world, the name of Shimura Danzo does not carry a good reputation. He has always committed misdeeds under the guise of Konoha's name and remains beyond reproach. Konoha ninjas! A voice suddenly echoed through the mist. Ao, who had been overseeing the situation here, quickly received an order from his superior, granting him discretion in his actions as long as he could rescue the fourth Mizukage, Yagura. Ao shouted towards the wooden dragon. We have agreed to your request to enter the Mist Village to search for the rogue ninja of Konoha, Uchiha Obaido, on the condition that once it's confirmed that Uchiha Obaido is not in the Mist Village, we will release both the Jonin Terumi Mei and the Lord Mizukage, right? That's possible. Hadake Kakashi raised his voice in agreement. No, it's not. Akihara Kaguya interrupted Hadake Kakashi and said firmly, At this moment, we have no chance of capturing Uchiha Obaido. We should take this opportunity to pass the problem to the Mist Village so they can help us search for Uchiha Obaido as well. Hey, listen up down there. Akihara Kaguya's figure flickered and he stood atop the wooden dragon, shouting into the mist below. If ever the Mist Village captures Uchiha Obaido and sends him back to Konoha, that's when we'll return the fourth Mizukage to them. Ao's forehead was sweating. Who on earth is this Uchiha Obaido? Chapter 73, what's with people covering their faces? We can agree to these terms. Ao didn't think too much and simply agreed to the condition. The Mist Village is one of the 5 great ninja villages of the ninja world. Gathering the power of the Mist Village, capturing a rogue ninja from the Konoha should be easy. We will hand over that rogue ninja to Konoha immediately. Ao raised another question. After the Mizukage arrives at the Konoha, can you guarantee that the Konoha will send the Mizukage back in exchange for a rogue ninja from the Konoha? Akihara Kagura looked towards Headache Kakashi. This employee definitely couldn't make such a decision. Akihara Kagura never considered that the Mist could capture Uchiha Obaido. At most, they could trouble his superior, but how could they actually capture him? Headache Kakashi remained silent for a while. After all, Headache Kakashi was just a leader of an Anbu squad and couldn't make such a decision. The fate of a Mizukage could only be decided by the higher-ups of the Konoha. Uchiha Itachi could only stand by as a mere ornament. All right, we can't make this decision. Akihara Kagura spread his hands helplessly, continuing. At least we won't stop you from taking the Mizukage back to the Mist. You figure it out yourself. After all, a rogue ninja from the Konoha and a Mizukage don't seem to be of equal status and importance. This makes our trade reasonable and fair, right? Ao felt like swearing. Fine, we accept. Ao had to suppress the urge to curse and loudly asked again. What about the Jonin Terumi Mei? Can we release her? Consider it a bonus for accepting your terms. Jonin Terumi Mei is a powerful ninja and an important force in the village for pursuing Uchiha Obaido. Agreed. Headache Kakashi considered this matter to be of little importance. Compared to the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, Terumi Mei was just a minor character, not significant enough to warrant continual discussions with Mist Village. Besides, Mist Village was almost declaring surrender, even going so far as to send Uchiha Obaido to Konoha in the future. And their team couldn't decide on accepting the conditions to send the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, back, which made Headache Kakashi feel somewhat embarrassed. Shouldn't we get something in return? After pondering for a moment, Akihara Kagura suggested, at the very least, we should exchange for some ramen money, right? I don't even have a coin in my pocket, poorer than that kid Naruto. Are we supposed to let Captain Kakashi treat us when we return to the village? This, Headache Kakashi felt that it might be a bit excessive. How much money do you want? Ao asked loudly, gritting his teeth. Let us discuss it. Akihara Kagura looked towards Headache Kakashi and then at Itachi Uchiha. How much do you think is appropriate? I've never done this kind of thing. Headache Kakashi and Itachi Uchiha exchanged glances, because neither of them had ever done such a thing. 300,000 ryo. Headache Kakashi was not particularly interested in this. This amount was a generous reward for a high-level rank mission. Akihara Kagura didn't expect the figure to be so low, but didn't aim for a higher amount either, merely making a suggestion. Let's make it 320,000 ryo then. After all, this money is to be split among the 3 of us, and we need a number that divides evenly. Headache Kakashi couldn't help but glance sideways, surprisedly calculating and then asking, wait, is there something wrong with this number? 300,000 ryo would just be enough for 3 people to share evenly, right? Headache Kakashi seemed to think of something. His forehead twitched as he said, you wouldn't happen to be giving Itachi and me 10,000 ryo each and keeping 300,000 for yourself, would you? Distribution according to effort, I contributed the most. Distribution according to need, I am the poorest one. Distribution according to equality, you guys would definitely feel embarrassed, right? The 3 reasons given by Akihara Kagura were quite sufficient, leaving Headache Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi with nothing to say. Ao hadn't expected this small team from Konoha to have such modest demands, satisfied with just 320,000 ryo to release Terumi Mei, an amount he could easily pay as ransom himself. Ao no longer found these people particularly despicable. They seemed to really just want to capture Uchiha Obaido, not to cause trouble for the Mist Village. This Konoha team and the Mist Village reached two agreements. First, the Mist Village would take responsibility for capturing Uchiha Obaido and hand him over to Konoha, finding a way to convince the higher-ups of Konoha to release the fourth Mizukage, Yagura. Second, the Mist Village would pay 320,000 ryo to redeem the elite ninja Terumi Mei, considering the other Mist ninjas captured by Akahara Kagura as a bonus. You guys really made a fortune. When Akahara Kagura received the money, he spoke in a tone of amazement. You're lucky to have met someone as easygoing as me. Right. Ao could only nod repeatedly, suppressing his urge to fight, and asked about what he cared about most. When will you leave the land of water? Get the money and the person leaves. Akahara Kagura shook the money in his hand. Before leaving, the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, wanted to entrust some matters. Out of humanitarian consideration, Hatake Kakashi agreed to let Yagura talk with Terumi Mei for a while, allowing him to give some orders that sounded more like last words. I am a person guilty of heinous crimes. The fourth Mizukage, Yagura, appeared somewhat weak and commanded in a soft voice, Don't think about saving me. Even if I die in the Konoha village, it doesn't matter. Lord Mizukage, Terumi Mei was feeling somewhat uneasy. Did you understand? Akahara Kagura, standing beside them, interpreted, Your Lord Mizukage, in order not to burden you, is thinking of sacrificing himself. Can you bear to watch the Mizukage suffer in the Konoha village? Yagura, the fourth Mizukage, was too upset to continue speaking, but he still had to persist because this might be his last communication with the Mist Village. Let the Genji take over the village, and have him repeal the blood mist policy I established. Yes, Terumi Mei nodded and quickly leaped down from the wooden dragon. For the Mist Village, today was both a day of disaster and a new beginning, as the blood mist policy that had been looming over the village like a dark cloud was finally dissipating. Let's go too. Akahara Kagura, true to his word, released Terumi Mei and the others after receiving the ransom. This squad, carrying the land of water's greatest specialty, headed back to the Konoha village. The squad hurried to the seaside to board a ship and depart. When Yagura, the fourth Mizukage, was being pushed onto the ship, he seemed to see a familiar figure, a sailor wrapped in bandages around his neck. Yagura carefully lowered his head, recalling the sailor, his neck and lower face all wrapped in bandages, who seemed to be a Mist Village Anbu ninja. If he remembered correctly, was his name Mamachi Zabuza. This man, by killing all his classmates with his own hands, ended the Mist Village's brutal training system. The Mizukage cautiously shook his head, signaling the other not to risk saving him, fearing that any more Mist ninjas would fall into danger because of him. However, it was already too late. Akahara Kagura seemed to have noticed the bandaged sailor and, pointing at him, asked in surprise, What's with that guy? What's a big man hiding? Why does he like to cover his face like Captain Kakashi? Chapter 74, I'm here to kill, not to save. Akahara Kagura speaks somewhat crudely. What's with this kid? Can't a man cover his face simply because he's too handsome and doesn't want to draw attention? Hatake Kakashi didn't bother to respond, merely following the direction of Akahara Kagura's pointing finger. He saw another man with his face covered in bandages. Be careful, Hatake Kakashi instinctively uttered a warning. Even though the bandaged man only revealed half of his face, the murderous intent in his eyes couldn't be concealed. He was an assassin. TCH. Discovered, huh? Mamachi Zabuza chuckled coldly, carelessly removing his disguised clothing and drawing his ninja sword with a flip of his hand. He coldly continued, But it doesn't matter, I don't need any disguise when I kill. Zabuza. The fourth Mizukage, Yagura, watched Mamachi Zabuza and commanded sternly, As the Mizukage, I order you not to rescue me anymore. Leave this place immediately. Shut up, so annoying. Mamachi Zabuza glanced at the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, no longer hiding his disdain. Yagura, a Mizukage captured as a prisoner, doesn't have any right to order me. You, the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, felt that this man was ungrateful. Water release hiding in mist technique. Mamachi Zabuza swiftly raised his fingers. Suddenly, a fog rose on the deck, and the figure of Mamachi Zabuza slowly disappeared into the mist as if he had completely become invisible. TCH, the same trick again. Akahara Kagura shook his head, speaking leisurely. This guy named Zabuza seems tough to deal with. I think we should leave it to Captain Kakashi. I don't think I can take him. Hadake Kakashi was somewhat speechless. What is this kid talking about? Can this mist ninja be stronger than the fourth Mizukage, Yagura? You, a kid, can even defeat the three tails in the sea, let alone an ordinary mist ninja. All right, you two take care of yourselves. Hadake Kakashi reluctantly pulled off his forehead protector, revealing his Sharingan with 3 Tamo. This place isn't absolutely safe, like being on top of the wooden dragon. The enemy could launch a surprise attack in this confined space at any moment. The enemy's goal must be to rescue the Mizukage. Uchiha Itachi revealed his Sharingan, tightly holding a ninja sword, and moved next to the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, vigilantly surveying the surrounding mist. Don't worry, Captain Kakashi, we'll be on guard and won't let the enemy have a chance to rescue the Mizukage. Clang. A ninja sword slashed towards Itachi. Itachi parried the stealth attack with his sword, the sound of metal clashing distinctly resonating through the mist. Got you! Itachi's eyes firmly fixed on the attacker, Mamachi Zabuza, swinging his sword to meet him head-on in a fierce battle. Sharingan. As Mamachi Zabuza fended off Itachi's attacks with his sword, he scoffed. I was wondering how a Konoha kid could have such proficient swordsmanship. Turns out it's a ninja from the Uchiha clan. Mamachi Zabuza swiftly raised his sword to strike at Itachi, hitting Itachi's sword, and then used the momentum to retreat back into the mist. Mamachi Zabuza, fully aware of the essence of being an assassin, knew that if the first strike missed, he must immediately withdraw, unable to entangle further with Itachi. You can't escape! Itachi's hands flashed with 4 shuriken, throwing them in the direction Mamachi Zabuza disappeared. After 3 misses, one hit its target with a thud. Drip, drip. The sound of blood dripping to the ground was clear. Mamachi Zabuza hurriedly pulled out the shuriken embedded in his arm, hastily wrapped the wound on his neck with a bandage fearful of more blood dripping. But it was already too late. Hadake Kakashi immediately pinpointed Mamachi Zabuza's location. Water release, water clone. In the instant that Mamachi Zabuza swiftly cast a water clone, leaving it behind as a decoy to lure Hadake Kakashi, his real body once again vanished into the mist. What a nuisance! Hidden in the mist, Mamachi Zabuza felt troubled. Just dealing with that Uchiha kid was problematic enough, let alone the famous Hadake Kakashi, and another unknown Konoha ninja. That kid must be the most troublesome, the wood-release ninja. But still, Mamachi Zabuza thought about his plan, a flash of murderous intent in his eyes. I don't need to be so cautious. My goal is not to rescue that useless Yagura. Water release, water clone. Mamachi Zabuza created another water clone. In this battle, he had to fight alone against 3 people. One water clone was used to attract Hadake Kakashi, and another to lure the Uchiha Itachi kid. The next moment, the mist grew thicker. Mamachi Zabuza's real body disappeared into the mist in an instant. This was Mamachi Zabuza's ultimate technique for killing, allowing him to move at high speeds in the mist, making him unpredictably lethal. The fourth Mizukage, Yagura, was still frustrated by Mamachi Zabuza's disobedience. Glancing at the vines on his body, then at Uchiha Itachi and Akahara Kagura beside him, he knew that whatever Mamachi Zabuza was doing would be in vain. You must be troubled by this guy named Mamachi Zabuza, right? Akahara Kagura looked at the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, and smilingly said, his attitude of trying to save you against orders must be touching, right? Let's make a deal. I can spare his life. What do you want? The fourth Mizukage, Yagura, was somewhat puzzled. Anything. Preferably some unique ninja techniques. Akahara Kagura, with a friendly smile as if extremely benign, said, the Mizukage wouldn't want to see a mist ninja who is so determined to save you die, right? The fourth Mizukage, Yagura, slowly nodded his head. A flash of a blade, the figure of Mamachi Zabuza appeared once again. This guy, using a water clone to distract Hat-Ache Kakashi's attention, had his real body appear here, posing as if he was determined to rescue the fourth Mizukage from this squad. Clang! Uchiha Itachi still flawlessly blocked his attack. Although Itachi was only 10 years old, his proficiency in the Sharingan and Uchiha swordsmanship made him an insurmountable line of defense. Know this force. When Itachi received the strike, his Sharingan intensely focused on Mamachi Zabuza. This is a water clone. Itachi sharply turned his head towards the direction of the fourth Mizukage Yagura and Ekihara Kagura. He saw the real body of Mamachi Zabuza approaching them. Be careful! Ekihara Kagura stood beside the fourth Mizukage Yagura, drawing his own ninja sword, seemingly ready to step forward to block Mamachi Zabuza. Don't get in the way! Mamachi Zabuza quickly forced Ekihara Kagura back with a few strikes. This kid's swordsmanship is so weak, easily repelled by him, not even comparable to Uchiha Itachi. Mamachi Zabuza was now just a step away from the fourth Mizukage Yagura. The Konoha ninjas seemed worried that Yagura might erupt in violence, even binding the Mizukage tightly with vines. This means the current Yagura had no chance of resistance. Mamachi Zabuza's breathing grew heavier. He actually raised his ninja sword towards Yagura's throat, intending to kill his own Mizukage. The vines binding Yagura instantly grew, wrapping around his body, causing Mamachi Zabuza's ninja sword to only strike the vines. You want to assassinate the Mizukage. Ekihara Kagura stepped out, still in his leisurely manner, trying hard to look shocked. I just made a deal with the Mizukage. As long as I agree to spare your life, he will give me some unique ninjutsu. I wonder if your Mizukage will honor the deal and be willing to save a traitor. Chapter 75, Understanding Zabuza and Learning from Zabuza. The deal is still valid. The voice of the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, came through, tinged with fatigue and pain. Don't kill Zabuza, I understand why he wanted to assassinate me. Putting on a show of magnanimity for whom? Mamachi Zabuza pulled out his blade from the vines, leapt back, and stood on the railing. He began to bring his hands together to form seals, attempting to use ninjutsu to break through the vine's defense. You think it's over just like that? The speed of Mamachi Zabuza's hand seals was incredibly fast. Ekihara Kagura looked at those rapidly moving fingers, feeling somewhat dazzled, and sighed. How long is he going to make those seals? It must be the water dragon bullet technique. Uchiha Itachi, having dealt with Mamachi Zabuza's water clone, walked over. The water dragon bullet technique requires 44 hand seals. Water release, water dragon bullet technique. Mamachi Zabuza shouted fiercely, and a water dragon emerged from the sea behind him, lunging towards the direction of Ekihara Kagura and the others. What a nuisance! Ekihara Kagura's fingers stood up. A thick vine suddenly sprouted from the deck, wrapping around the neck of the water dragon and instantly crushing it. Water splashed in all directions. Taking advantage of the moment the water splashed down, the vine suddenly reached out and wrapped around Mamachi Zabuza's body, starting to drain his chakra. You! Mamachi Zabuza's pupils dilated in shock. At that moment, Mamachi Zabuza could hardly believe his eyes. The water dragon bullet technique, which took 10 seconds to complete, was easily neutralized by the opponent with just a raise of their hand, and even he himself was effortlessly captured. Is it resolved already? Just at this moment, Hat-Ache Kakashi had dealt with another water clone and was walking towards this area. HMPH, Momoichi Zabuza snorted coldly, unconcerned about his own situation, and looked in the direction of Yagura, the fourth Mizukage, cursing in a deep voice. Yagura, this time you are merely relying on the protection of Konoha. The fourth Mizukage Yagura did not speak in his own defense. Hat-Ache Kakashi asked with some curiosity, I am quite curious, why would Mist Anbu want to assassinate the Mizukage? Probably to end the bloody Mist policy. Yagura, the fourth Mizukage, sighed and continued. This is an unforgivable mistake I made against the village. It's only natural to be assassinated by my own subordinates. If this time I hadn't been captured by the Konoha ninja but instead killed by Zabuza, it would have been a relief for the village. After saying this, Yagura praised Zabuza for attempting to assassinate him. Taking this step for the sake of the village, Zabuza, you are a true hero. So why don't you just willingly die? Zabuza scornfully retorted, coldly saying, for the village there could be nothing worse than your bloody missed policy. I can't just kill myself. Yagura, the fourth Mizukage, shook his head. For him, suicide would bring personal relief but could cause dissatisfaction among the Konoha ninja around him and might even trigger a war between Konoha and Mist. Hade, Kakashi, and others did not speak up to defend him, as everyone couldn't just say that it was Uchiha Obaido controlling Yagura to implement the bloody Mist policy in Mist, could they? This matter should be kept as hidden as possible before Konoha retrieves Uchiha Obaido to avoid provoking greater hostility from Mist towards Konoha. Capturing the Mizukage by Konoha ninja is one thing. The control of the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, by the Konoha ninja and the implementation of the brutal blood Mist policy in Mist Village, which forced the Mist ninja to slaughter each other, is a separate matter. Such actions could lead to an endless feud between the two great ninja villages. Go back. The fourth Mizukage, Yagura, no longer looked at Mamachi Zabuza and said softly, I have already ordered the village Genji and Jonin to abolish the blood Mist policy. Zabuza, you are a genius. Return to the village and you will achieve even greater accomplishments in the future. I don't need your kindness. Mamachi Zabuza, always defiant, coldly continued, who knows what the village will become once you return? It might revert to its detestable state. Let him go. The fourth Mizukage, Yagura, no longer looked at Mamachi Zabuza. Having already decided when he was released from the illusion, Yagura, the fourth Mizukage, planned to answer with his life when he was no longer important. As for the three tails inside him, even if he died in the Konoha, the three tails would be reborn in the land of water, so there was no need to worry about this strategic weapon falling into the hands of Konoha. See you if there's a chance. Akihara Kagura released the vines binding Mamachi Zabuza and even kindly reminded him, feel free to come again. I quite enjoy watching performances like this, where a village leader submits to the enemy to save his subordinates. Bastard! A murderous intent flashed in Mamachi Zabuza's eyes. Just as he was about to pounce on Akihara Kagura, a flash of lightning suddenly calmed him down. Kakashi's fingertips sparkled with lightning, firmly blocking Mamachi Zabuza's way to prevent any rash actions. The Mizukage has already saved you. Don't let his sacrifice be in vain. Hurry up and leave. I will remember you all. Before leaving, Mamachi Zabuza sized up everyone present. This time, he had been defeated by a ninja with would-release Kekkei Genkai. After returning, he planned to collect information on Kekkei Genkai ninjas and seek his revenge. After the incident involving Mamachi Zabuza, their journey seemed to become smoother. There were probably many in the Mist Village who wanted to assassinate the fourth Mizukage, but few dared to do so. Only Mamachi Zabuza possessed the courage to resist. That guy is indeed impressive. Hade Kakashi understood the courage in Mamachi Zabuza. I've learned a lot. Akihara Kagura nodded repeatedly, speaking nonchalantly. If our third Hokage ever does anything inappropriate, I'll go assassinate the Hokage. That's not what you're supposed to learn. A black line crossed Hade Kakashi's forehead. You shouldn't always learn these messy things, you little rascal. Akihara Kagura was very eager to learn. He not only learned the spirit of rebellion from Mamachi Zabuza, but also an interesting jutsu from the fourth Mizukage, Yagura. The fourth Mizukage, Yagura, taught him a harmless defensive jutsu. He definitely wouldn't teach Akihara Kagura any jutsu that could harm the ninjas of the mist, like the extremely effective wind release, Typhoon jutsu against mist ninjas. Trait activated, the host possesses water attribute chakra. Chakra level reached S grade. Learning water release, water mirror technique complies with ninjutsu theory. Water release, water mirror technique successfully learned. You have acquired a new skill, water release, water mirror technique. This technique is good. It's very useful against ninjas who are strong in taijutsu, especially troublesome close-range ambush ninjas. Coincidentally, Akihara Kagura is not very good at close combat. Kakashi-senpai Kagura-kun. Uchiha Itachi took over the watch from Akihara Kagura, loudly saying, "There's a boat following us." Chapter 76, Reaction of Hiruzen and Danzo. On the seas, two ships gradually approached each other. Akihara Kagura gazed at the deck of the other ship and saw a group of familiar ninjas. They wore masks on their faces and were dressed in the standard attire of the Konoha Anbu. These people were ninjas from the Root Division. This group of Root ninjas, following the orders of Shimura Danzo, had been trailing Hatake Kakashi and Akihara Kagura, attempting to establish a communication channel with Akihara Kagura. Those from the Root Division. Hatake Kakashi didn't have a good impression of the Root Division and frowned, saying, "Are they coming over at this time to take over as the Mizukage? Wait for me a moment." Akihara Kagura quickly jumped onto the ship of the Root ninjas. Before a tall man leading them could even speak, he was scolded fiercely. "What are you even doing? What were you doing when I was fighting? Did you come to the Land of Water for a sightseeing tour, taking photos and buying souvenirs? Lord Danzo mentioned that someone would be in contact with me at any time, and this is when you contact me. After I've finished everything, you guys show up. You're even worse than Captain Kakashi and Itachi. At least they could cheer me on from the sidelines. A bunch of useless people. I really don't know why Lord Danzo keeps you around." These Root ninjas were scolded by Akihara Kagura to the point where they couldn't lift their heads. However, Akihara Kagura, who also originated from the Root Division, was so unruly during his time there that most of these Root ninjas were used to his arrogance and didn't think of retorting. The leader of the Root squad waited until Akihara Kagura finished scolding before cautiously speaking. "As per Lord Danzo's orders, we have been following Lord Kagura, ready to receive your commands and contact Lord Danzo at any time." As a result, it was difficult for them to keep up with Hatake Kakashi's team along the way, and they found no opportunity to contact Akihara Kagura alone. "When we return to the Land of Fire, send someone ahead to rush back to Konoha and inform Lord Danzo of the situation here first. The rest will continue to move with us." Akihara Kagura imperiously instructed the Root ninja. "I haven't found the rogue ninja Uchiha Obaido, but I've captured the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, from the Mist Village. He still has the 3 tails inside him. We are on our way back." "Understood." The leader of the Root squad quickly nodded in agreement. Hatake Kakashi saw for the first time someone daring to treat the Root ninja this way. Relying on Danzo's power, the Root members in Konoha refused to obey anyone's orders, even being somewhat presumptuous towards the third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen. No one wanted to deal with the Root ninja. These people were always lawless. It was unexpected that they would be so docile in front of Akihara Kagura. Uchiha Itachi was also stunned. Uchiha Itachi had clashed with the Root, having witnessed these people kill a comrade in the village right in front of him and Uchiha Shisui. The tall and robust leader of the Root squad, who had brazenly clashed with him and Uchiha Shisui, was now being scolded by Akihara Kagura, bowing his head without daring to make a sound. After Akihara Kagura finished scolding the Root ninja, he returned to his own ship and saw the somewhat silent Hatake Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi. "So they can become obedient too." Hatake Kakashi sighed deeply. Initially, Hatake Kakashi had clashed with the Root to rescue Tenzo and had personally witnessed how rampant these people could be. They were not obedient to begin with. Akihara Kagura nonchalantly spread his hands, casually explaining, "As long as you put a little effort into them and teach them how to interact with you properly, that's enough. Everyone is working for Lord Danzo. No one is inferior to anyone else. It seems your way of teaching them is somewhat unexpected." Hatake Kakashi looked at him with a strange expression. "Do you want to join the Root?" Akihara Kagura warmly invited Hatake Kakashi. "If you join the Root, you'll find one thing: all the Root ninjas are a bunch of waste." "Then why should I join the Root?" Hatake Kakashi's gaze became even more bizarre. 2 ships arrived at the port of the Land of Fire one after the other, with one of the root ninjas rushing ahead, while the remaining root ninjas gathered around Akihara Kagura. Realizing that Shimura Danzo might interfere with the Mizuki's affairs, Hade Kakashi left Akihara Kagura and Uchiha Itachi behind, hurrying ahead alone to report to the third Hokage about the Mist Village. If the ordinary ninjas at the Konoha village outpost were to report it, they might be intercepted and killed by Danzo. Akihara Kagura was indifferent to these high-level disputes. A group of root ninjas gathered around him, helping to solve the problems of survival in the wild, enjoying their rare holiday on the road. Inside the Konoha village, both Shimura Danzo and Sarutobi Hiruzen received the news. The Konoha ninjas capturing the Mizuki of the Mist Village was more exciting for them than capturing the rogue ninja Uchiha Obito. This time, both elders, coincidentally, planned to personally go to retrieve the fourth Mizuki Yagura, fearing any unexpected incidents in between. Shimura Danzo wanted to control the fourth Mizuki Yagura, the leader of the Mist Village. The amount of information about the Mist Village in Yagura's mind and the benefits that could be extracted from it were immense. He even considered forcing the Mist Village to become a vassal of the Konoha village. Sarutobi Hiruzen believed that the political significance of the fourth Mizuki Yagura entering the Konoha village would be greater than the short-term benefits of the information. If handled properly, it could become a groundbreaking journey of reconciliation between the Konoha and the Mist Village, leading to an alliance between them. After the Third Great Ninja War, the Konoha village had formed an alliance with the Sand Village. By also forming an alliance with the Mist Village, the 3 major ninja villages would become allies, effectively suppressing the restless Cloud Village and the powerful Rock Village. The Mizuki of the Mist Village is still the Three Tails Jinchuriki. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt somewhat regretful about this trouble and sighed. If the Mizuki is really willing to stay in Konoha temporarily, it would assure the alliance we can form with the Mist Village. However, arranging his accommodation is a big problem. Never mind. Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't ask for too much. For Konoha, this was ultimately a good thing. As long as they find a way to endure for a while, until the alliance between Konoha and the Mist Village is stable, and the external threats from the Rock Village and the Cloud Village are completely suppressed, they can then return the Mizuki to the Mist Village. Yes, there is another matter. Hade Kakashi specifically mentioned to Sarutobi Hiruzen about the Anbu from the route following their team. The route ninjas have been following our squad, and now Danzo, the Hokage's assistant, should have also received the message. I understand. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought for less than a second before instructing one of his Anbu. Go and convey the Hokage's orders to Shimura Danzo. Have him lead the route to guard against enemies from the Rock and Cloud villages infiltrating the Land of Fire, and ensure that there are no mistakes in my meeting with the Mizuki. Yes, an Anbu ninja immediately went to convey the orders. All right, Kakashi, let's set off. Sarutobi Hiruzen put on his Hokage hat, adjusted his official robe, and said, if we delay any further, Danzo will come to the Hokage's office. Hade Kakashi silently nodded. Everything was as Sarutobi Hiruzen had anticipated. The orders issued by Sarutobi Hiruzen greatly angered Danzo. At this critical juncture, Danzo, already aware of Sarutobi Hiruzen's weak mindset, hurried to the Hokage's office to confront Sarutobi Hiruzen, only to find it already empty. Chapter 77, Hiruzen's Dilemma. Welcome, Lord Mizuki, to the Land of Fire as our guest. Sarutobi Hiruzen warmly greeted the fourth Mizuki, Yagura. When Sarutobi Hiruzen went to meet the fourth Mizuki, Yagura, the security measures were not light, with a group of Anbu dispersed around, alert for enemies, even forbidding the root ninjas from getting close. In the history of the ninja world, there were instances where leaders of 2 villages were caught in a trap during a meeting. Sarutobi Hiruzen had personally experienced one such incident. During the First Great Ninja War, the second Hokage, Senju Tabarama, and the second Raikage were caught in a trap by the rogue Jin brothers of Cloud Village. The Hokage is too kind, Yagura, with a somewhat subdued demeanor, shook his head and sighed. I come here as a captive of Konoha, not in a position to make many demands. I only hope that our two villages will no longer be at war. Please rest assured, Konoha does not dare to neglect its guests, Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded, his expression turning solemn. Peace between Konoha and Mist Village is our mutual wish. Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes sparkled as he continued, if Lord Mizukage does not trust Konoha's sincerity, you may stay in Konoha for a time to oversee. We can establish a communication channel with Mist Village, allowing the Land of Water and the Land of Fire to share resources, and even announce to other ninja countries the formation of an alliance treaty between our two villages. That would be most ideal, Yagura's face slightly brightened. The third Hokage, an old man with a gentle demeanor, spoke with the peace of Mist Village and Konoha in mind, taking into account Yagura's dignity, slightly lifting the spirits of the Mizukage who considered himself a captive. The best way to avoid conflict between Mist Village and Konoha, of course, would be to form an alliance, which would be highly beneficial for Mist Village. Mist Village, having implemented a policy of isolation within the Land of Water for many years, prohibiting any communication with the ninja continent, caused resource scarcity in both the Land of Water and within Mist Village, leading to conflicts between civilians and nobles, and between ordinary ninjas and those with Kekkei Genkai. The Land of Water re-establishing communication channels with the bustling Land of Fire could improve the lives of civilians and ordinary ninjas through increased trade and mercantile escort missions, easing internal conflicts, opening up Mist Village, and gradually catching up with the other major ninja villages. Sarutobi Hiruzen's smile grew richer. The Hokage had not expected that the isolated fourth Mizukage would so readily agree to his proposal. It seems the situation in Mist Village was worse than he had imagined, but this did not hinder Sarutobi Hiruzen's desire to continue the alliance with Mist Village. Who would like an ally too strong and always capable of betrayal? For Konoha, a weakened village like Mist Village was just right. They needed to depend on Konoha, which could slowly gain benefits from the Land of Water. Just reopening a trade and mercantile escort route to other major countries could be quite profitable. The third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, smiled like a benevolent old neighbor. Let's first establish a foundation of peace. In the future, whether it's about setting up a joint Chunin promotion system between our villages or collaborating on ninja missions, we can discuss these matters gradually. Okay. The fourth Mizukage, Yagura, felt his somewhat gloomy mood lighten considerably. However, the two had discussed pleasant matters. Naturally, they couldn't avoid discussing some unpleasant issues. I've heard. Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help but bring up a topic that even he found somewhat headache-inducing, and as he spoke, he began smoking his old pipe. Your Excellency the Mizukage, are you a Jinchuriki? That's correct. The fourth Mizukage, Yagura, slowly nodded, not refuting the question. He even volunteered. I am the Three Tails Jinchuriki, but I can control the three tails inside me from rampaging. Konoha doesn't need to worry about this issue. He. Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled and nodded slowly. Although Yagura claimed to be able to control the three tails, who knew if this Mizukage might suddenly let the three tails inside him go berserk? The Konoha had once experienced the Nine Tails rampage, and they absolutely couldn't afford a second outbreak of a tailed beast. But how should this matter be broached? Sarutobi Hiruzen pondered slowly, thinking about how to make the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, understand his intentions. He couldn't just bluntly say he didn't trust him and insist on sealing the tailed beast inside him, forbidding the use of its chakra, right? If Danzo were here, he would definitely assert that Konoha didn't trust him, forcing the fourth Mizukage to seal all the chakra inside him to prevent any potential tailed beast rampage in Konoha. At that time, he would symbolically reprimand Danzo, giving the fourth Mizukage some face, then half persuade, half compel the Mizukage to accept the sealing of his chakra. Now, Sarutobi Hiruzen really couldn't bring himself to confront the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, forcibly, as it would render the harmonious and friendly exchanges they had just had futile. Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help but lament that sometimes Danzo's stern approach was indeed useful. That man sometimes did wrong, but more often than not, allowed him to accomplish some unspeakable tasks under the cover of Danzo's darkness. Kagura! Sarutobi Hiruzen's gaze turned towards Ekihara Kagura, pinning his hopes on this child who exhibited an extremely extreme personality, tempting the child to say something unpleasant. I heard that when you encountered the Mizukage, you had a bit of a conflict with the Mizukage. Standing beside Sarutobi Hiruzen, Ekihara Kagura noticed his superior's worried expression and roughly understood the Hokage's thoughts based on the situation in Konoha. Yes, the Mizukage is very strong. The three tails inside the Mizukage is also very strong. Ekihara Kagura immediately followed his superior's lead and responded opportunely. So, when I was coming back, I realized that I knew too few ninjutsu techniques and thought about whether there was an opportunity to learn more techniques, so that in the future when facing tough enemies like the Mizukage. Yagura looked somewhat puzzledly at Ekihara Kagura. Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression was a bit strange. He didn't want this kid to think about dealing with enemies in the future. Couldn't this kid think from the perspective of Konoha for once? Ekihara Kagura, oblivious to Sarutobi Hiruzen's gaze, slowly continued. Apart from learning new techniques, I also need to find time to properly train. I'm even unqualified in basic swordsmanship, and my shuriken throwing skills are not very good either. As Ekihara Kagura spoke, he suddenly brought up Shimura Danzo. I hope the third Hokage will let me go back to Lord Danzo for a while to learn. Danzo doesn't know wood-release techniques. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head, still with a smile on his face. For the time being, I'll give you a holiday. You can study with your team leader. That guy is even worse than me. Ekihara Kagura showed considerable disrespect towards his direct squad leader, Tenzo. Don't aim too high. Sarutobi Hiruzen wanted to take this opportunity to teach him, but remembering this kid's personality, who was impatient with such educational talk, he changed his approach. I can also teach you some wood-release techniques and try to arrange a jounin teacher for you so you can learn more knowledge. I have reasons I must go back to Lord Danzo. Ekihara Kagura slowly lowered his head, then suddenly looked towards the fourth Mizukage Yagura, who had been inactive. The three tails inside the Mizukage is very dangerous and must be sealed. Lord Danzo is skilled in techniques like cursed seals, so the Mizukage can be entrusted to Lord Danzo. Chapter 78, Getting the Reward. The kid finally said it. The three tails is indeed very dangerous and must be sealed away. Sarutobi Hiruzen immediately disregarded the words said by Ekihara Kagura afterwards. Although this little fellow unavoidably leans towards Shimura Danzo, he finally said the most important thing. The fourth Mizukage, Yagura, was still somewhat baffled. This kid said something about the three tails being very dangerous and needing to be sealed away. I hope the three tails is really as dangerous as you say, and not just easily captured by your wood dragon jutsu. What nonsense are you spouting? Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the fourth Mizukage, Yagura, and sternly scolded Ekihara Kagura. How could there be any danger when the Lord Mizukage can control the tailed beast inside of him? After saying this, Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't wait for Ekihara Kagura to reply, but turned to look at Yagura and sighed. This child, like others in the village, is probably shadowed by the Nine Tails incident that happened years ago in the village, fearing that such a disaster might happen again. Even I sometimes worry about the possibility of its recurrence. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't mind mentioning the disaster of the Nine Tails incident in front of the Mizukage, seizing the opportunity to empathize. We have always suspected that Uchiha Obito was the mastermind behind the Nine Tails incident. We've been cautious about a repeat of such an accident and had to heavily seal the Nine Tails. Unexpectedly, This dangerous rogue ninja also harmed other villages, bringing so much trouble to Mist Village. That guy is indeed very dangerous. The fourth Mizukage, Yagura, nodded his head, even feeling a bit startled. If he had controlled me back then and used me to cause a rampage of the three tails in Mist Village. You won't have to worry about that in the future. Sarutobi Hiruzen, holding his pipe, took back control of the conversation. Konoha has a sealing technique that can seal the tailed beast chakra inside a Jinchuriki. Even if Uchiha Obaido wants to unseal the tailed beast, he must find the correct method to undo the seal. Of course, this was nonsense. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't know what techniques Uchiha Obaido had mastered during his time in hiding. He wanted to make the fourth Mizukage accept the fate of being sealed, without affecting the friendly relations between Konoha and Mist. I understand. The fourth Mizukage, Yagura, calmly nodded, understanding Sarutobi Hiruzen's intentions. My chakra should indeed be sealed by Konoha. Yagura raised his head and said solemnly, I only have one request, whether I am dead or alive in the future. The three tails must return to the land of water or I can't guarantee the situation in the village. Mist and Konoha might end up in an unending conflict. Of course. Sarutobi Hiruzen quickly nodded in agreement, making his promise. As the third Hokage of Konoha, I assure you, Konoha will not covet the tailed beast of our ally. For the Konoha village, the negative impacts brought by the tailed beasts far outweigh their usefulness. Within the village, the Uchiha clan is like a ticking time bomb, and the tailed beasts are like another. A slight mishap with either could combine and turn the Konoha into ruins. 5-element seal. Sarutobi Hiruzen personally applied the 5-element seal on Yagura, imprinting a sealing formula on him. This technique would prevent Yagura from using the three tails chakra until the seal is properly undone, naturally preventing any voluntary outbreak of the three tails. Only at this moment did Sarutobi Hiruzen truly set his mind at ease regarding Yagura. He personally led the Mizukage back to the Konoha, showing him around the village scenery with the demeanor of hosting a guest. He even arranged for Yagura to live close to himself, and assigned an Anbu team to ensure Yagura's safety. Without a doubt, the Tenzo team would be the most appropriate for this task. Unfortunately, Akihara Kagura lost his first superior and was transferred from Tenzo's team. He temporarily formed a two-man squad with Anbu leader Hatake Kakashi. You are no longer under the command of Tenzo. Why? Akihara Kagura was dissatisfied with this arrangement, mainly because he had never completed a task for his superior Tenzo and had inadvertently implicated Tenzo in a mishap shortly after joining his command. This small mine has not even been excavated yet. Why is he not allowed to work here? Moreover, the work in Tenzo's team is undoubtedly the most leisurely. Who doesn't know how easy it is to protect the fourth Mizukage, Yagura? The Mizukage's impression of Konoha isn't bad. Hatake Kakashi, holding his forehead, was troubled by his subordinate. Maybe the Hokage is concerned that you'll affect the image of the Konoha? This kid could infuriate anyone with his words. The third Hokage had only just managed to make Yagura feel like a guest instead of a prisoner of war, and had only just opened a channel of communication between the Mist and the Konoha. But all the efforts of the third Hokage would be in vain with just a slip of this kid's tongue. Is the image of the Konoha more important than its safety? Akihara Kagura still had a compelling reason. What if the tailed beast inside the Mizukage goes berserk? At least my wood release can surely suppress his power. The three tails won't cause any trouble. Hatake Kakashi believes in the sealing technique of Sarutobi Hiruzen. This is because the 5-element seal of Sarutobi Hiruzen, the third Hokage, is powerful enough to seal the chakra of the three tails, to the extent that even the current fourth Mizukage, Yagura, finds it inconvenient to utilize the chakra within his body. Such a sealing method is quite useful. A Jinchuriki who cannot use the tailed beast's chakra and even struggles to harmonize their own chakra is essentially rendered useless in their ninja career until the seal is lifted. Besides this, Sarutobi Hiruzen might also be worried about Ekihara Kagura having to obey the orders of Danzo, who might be secretly plotting something detrimental to the fourth Mizukage, Yagura. This would be problematic. Let's go, we're heading to the training ground. Hadake Kakashi, donning his outfit, said, I'll take you to the training ground. The Hokage is going to teach us a new ninjutsu. Hadake Kakashi looked back at Ekihara Kagura and seriously told him, the techniques taught by the man known as the Professor of Ninjutsu are not simple ones. Probably as a reward for our contributions. Hadake Kakashi stroked his white hair and said slowly, after all, we brought back the Mizukage, helping to thaw and ease the relationship between the Konoha village and the Mist village. Ekihara Kagura quietly watched Hadake Kakashi. The disrespect in the young man's eyes was not at all hidden. You captured the Mizukage. Understanding what Ekihara Kagura was thinking, Hadake Kakashi slowly said, we prevented you from killing the Mizukage. We should all be credited for this achievement, right? True to a leader, not shying away from taking credit. Ekihara Kagura felt Hadake Kakashi's reasoning made sense and considered discussing with another superior, Abido, to see if he had any plans for revenge against Hadake Kakashi. All right. Hadake Kakashi patted Ekihara Kagura's head and casually smoothed his black hair. If you're interested, I can also teach you some techniques at the training ground. Let's skip the technique that carves a dog's head on the wall. Chapter 79, Kakashi wants to learn space-time jutsu. Konoha Village, Training Ground Number 3. The third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, had already arrived. Dressed in a practical ninja outfit, he was teaching Uchiha Itachi a unique ninjutsu technique. The three members who once formed a team were all rewarded. Uchiha Itachi quickly threw a shuriken, his palms swiftly coming together, almost instantly completing the hand seals. Ninjutsu Shuriken Shadow Clone Technique. As he completed the seals, the single shuriken astonishingly split into multiple shurikens, scattering and striking the practice targets in the training ground. Not bad. Hiruzen watched the scene with satisfaction. After demonstrating the Shuriken Shadow Clone technique to Itachi, the young prodigy managed to perform it himself, truly a genius of the village. Keep practicing. Hiruzen patted Uchiha Itachi on the shoulder, continuing to explain the intricacies of the technique. The deeper your understanding of this technique, the more chakra you can distribute, allowing you to create even more clones with the Shuriken Shadow Clone technique. The last person who learned it could produce tens of thousands of shuriken clones from a single one. So amazing! Uchiha Itachi's face was filled with awe. Keep it up, Itachi. Hiruzen patted Itachi on the shoulder, speaking solemnly, we are getting old. The future of the village will soon be on the shoulders of you youngsters. As Hiruzen spoke these words, his voice became tinged with a touch of melancholy. Our purpose in living is to see the new leaves of the village sprout and grow strong. Third Hokage. Uchiha Itachi's eyes were full of emotion. When Hadake Kakashi and Ekihara Kagura arrived, they witnessed this touching scene, the village elder passing down the precious will of fire of Konoha to the younger generation. Kakashi was used to such sights, yet this time his gaze fell on Ekihara Kagura. Did this youngster also carry the will to bear the future of Konoha? It's quite touching. Ekihara Kagura let out a sigh, seemingly recalling his own story. Now Lord Danzo seems to be aging day by day. Ekihara Kagura felt quite sentimental about this. There are always people in the village who want to become the Hokage, yet no one ever wishes to join the route. I wonder, after Lord Danzo passes, who will be able to carry on the will to protect Konoha at all costs in the shadows. His gaze then turned to Hadake Kakashi, and he spoke earnestly. Captain Kakashi, won't you consider it? Lord Danzo has always wanted to recruit you into the route. Maybe it's because he's getting older and hopes to find someone to succeed his position. There was a twitch on Hadake Kakashi's forehead. Despite Danzo's age, he was still very lively. Hadake Kakashi didn't think Shimura Danzo had such intentions. That man would rather hold all the power in his hands. How could he possibly want a successor, an organization like the Root? Wouldn't it be better for Konoha if it were disbanded sooner? Kakashi, you're here. The third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, having passed on the will of fire to Uchiha Itachi, saw Hadake Kakashi and Ikehara Kagura approaching and said to Kakashi, "Kakashi, there's something I want to tell you." Yesterday, after Danzo returned, he suggested that Uchiha Itachi join the Anbu for training, and I plan to place him in your squad. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't wait for Hadake Kakashi to voice his opinion and continued, "Don't worry, Itachi will only be in the Anbu for training for a while. If he qualifies, he will join Danzo's Root Division. You and Itachi have worked together on missions. You should get along fine, right?" This had been a long-standing idea of Shimura Danzo. Within the village of Konoha, the Uchiha clan's actions had become increasingly aggressive. To keep an eye on the internal movements of the Uchiha clan, Shimura Danzo had long decided to plant an undercover agent. Originally, Uchiha Itachi was a suitable candidate. However, Uchiha Itachi was deeply loved and respected by the Uchiha clan, striving to maintain the balance between Konoha and the Uchiha. But due to his personality, he was not very resolute and often influenced by others. At this time, Uchiha Itachi caught the eye of Shimura Danzo. When Uchiha Itachi had a conflict with Root in the past, Shimura Danzo already had this idea, but he was concerned about the young boy's age and whether his mental maturity was sufficient. It wasn't until after the Chunin exams that he planned to put this into action. Shimura Danzo wanted to bring Uchiha Itachi under his command as a spy to uncover the secrets of the Uchiha clan. However, he still needed to observe Uchiha Itachi to see if the boy would prioritize the interests of the village over those of the Uchiha clan. However, this matter certainly required the approval of Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen did not deny Shimura Danzo's plan, which implied tacit consent. The Hokage was also very concerned about any unrest that might arise from the Uchiha clan. Coincidentally, the recent matter of the fourth Mizukage being forced to stay in Konoha had put Sarutobi Hiruzen in a good mood, but he was also a bit worried about any rash actions Shimura Danzo might take towards the Mizukage. So he decided to give Shimura Danzo something else to focus on. Monitor the Uchiha clan. Cultivate a spy from the Uchiha clan. This is undoubtedly Danzo's favorite and necessary task. That's decided then. Sarutobi Hiruzen mentioned this matter to Hadake Kakashi in the practice field. It was just a coincidence. "Kakashi, after the new year, let Itachi join your team." Hadake Kakashi had no choice but to obey the order. Of course, Hadake Kakashi didn't really want to oppose it either. After all, Hadake Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi had been on a reconnaissance mission together in the Mist Village, and Uchiha Itachi was really more trouble-free than his subordinate, Ikehara Kagura. The third Hokage. Ikehara Kagura frowned and asked with some surprise, "If I heard correctly, Lord Danzo had him train in the Anbu for a while and then let him go to the Root Division." "Exactly," Sarutobi Hiruzen slowly nodded. Ikehara Kagura quickly continued to ask, "Originally, Lord Danzo sent me to the Anbu for training, right? Will I go back to the Root Division with Uchiha Itachi? The Dean is also in the Root Division. Lord Danzo has always been good to me. I still want to go back." "Ha ha ha." Sarutobi Hiruzen quickly shook his head, smiling, and continued, "Danzo sent you to the Anbu because the Anbu could bring out your greatest talent. As for Itachi, Danzo believes he can do better in the Root Division." Ikehara Kagura slowly looked towards Uchiha Itachi. Uchiha Itachi's eyebrows slightly furrowed. If he remembered correctly, during the Chunin exams, Ikehara Kagura once mentioned that he was abandoned by Danzo. Now Danzo is allowing him to go to the Root Division in the future, but not allowing Ikehara Kagura to return to the Root Division. He felt he might be resented by Ikehara Kagura again. "Kakashi, Kagura, don't think about these things anymore." Sarutobi Hiruzen chose to end the topic about the Anbu and Root Division and proactively asked, "Do you two have any jutsu you want to learn?" "I think." Hade Kakashi, recalling Abaido's space-time jutsu, seriously put forward his request. Try to see if I can learn a space-time jutsu. Chapter 80, So Troublesome. Lord Danzo's teaching only need one hand seal. Space-time jutsu technique. This is one of the ninja techniques that requires the most talent in the ninja world. Among the most common space-time jutsu techniques is the summoning jutsu. Whether summoning beasts or objects, there has always been a high learning threshold. When Hade Kakashi proposed learning a space-time jutsu technique, it naturally couldn't be the summoning jutsu he had already mastered. Instead, it was the most famous S-rank space-time ninjutsu of the Konoha. Do you want to learn the Flying Thunder God technique? The third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, felt a complex mix of emotions. He looked deeply at Hade Kakashi and said, "This technique requires a high level of talent and very few can master it. Even if one does, it consumes a significant amount of chakra." Your chakra? Hade Kakashi remained expressionless. It seems I really am getting old. Sarutobi Hiruzen, the third Hokage, showed a bitter smile unique to the elderly. I almost forgot you are his student. How could you not understand the shortcomings of this technique? The last person proficient in the Flying Thunder God technique was Hade Kakashi's teacher, the fourth Hokage, Namikaze Minato. With the unpredictable movements granted by the Flying Thunder God technique, Namikaze Minato became known as the Yellow Flash, a figure feared throughout the ninja world. Namikaze Minato. He was not only Kakashi's teacher, but also the teacher of Uchiha Abaido. Hade Kakashi's desire to learn the Flying Thunder God technique might not only be to counter Uchiha Abaido's space-time Dojutsu, but also to shoulder their shared past. Sarutobi Hiruzen seemed to fully understand Hade Kakashi's intentions and continued, "Kakashi, I understand the burden in your heart. You don't have to carry everything on your own. The situation with Uchiha Abaido was unforeseen by all of us. I think even Minato would not have anticipated such events happening while he was alive. This is something I must do." Hade Kakashi bowed to the third Hokage. "I need my teacher's technique. Only the Flying Thunder God technique can bring Abaido back." Hade Kakashi could not think of a way to counter Uchiha Abaido's space-time Dojutsu and could only pin his hopes on the Flying Thunder God technique, once mastered by his teacher, Namikaze Minato. "It's possible." Sarutobi Hiruzen slowly nodded, still sighing. "I hope you can achieve your goal and not feel in the future that you have wasted your time." Enough said. After Sarutobi Hiruzen finished speaking, he took out a scroll from his ninja tool bag and handed it to Hade Kakashi. This is the scroll of the Flying Thunder God technique, which also contains Minato's reflections and experiences from learning the technique. Once you've noted them down, return it to me. Clearly, Sarutobi Hiruzen might have guessed Kakashi's thoughts and had prepared the scroll of the Flying Thunder God technique in advance, including Minato's study notes. Sarutobi Hiruzen patted Kakashi's shoulder and said solemnly, "Kakashi, only those with extraordinary determination can master this technique." "Yes." Kakashi received the scroll with both hands. "All right." Sarutobi Hiruzen then turned to Akahara Kagura, who had been standing by, and smiled again. "Little one, I don't have the wood release Kekkei Genkai in me, so I can't use any wood release ninjutsu. Teaching might be a bit difficult." Actually, Sarutobi Hiruzen wasn't lying. The techniques left by the first Hokage, Hashirama, were indeed powerful, but some of the wood release ninjutsu lacked even basic instructions on how to activate the wood release chakra, and Hashirama had greatly simplified many of the hand seals for these techniques, as using them was as natural as a bodily movement for him. This made Sarutobi Hiruzen feel the challenge of teaching even greater. "Teaching is so difficult, not even as good as Lord Danzo." Akahara Kagura grumbled discontentedly, then casually said, "Lord Danzo's teaching method is easy." "How did Danzo teach you?" Sarutobi Hiruzen immediately became curious. Speaking a bit arrogantly, Sarutobi Hiruzen believed that no one in the ninja world was better at teaching than he was, with his 3 students being known as the legendary Sannin of Konoha. Jiraiya, who was always traveling abroad, Tsunade, who was constantly on journeys, and Orochimaru, who defected from Konoha, were all capable of matching a cage in combat. Over the years, Sarutobi Hiruzen had never seen Danzo teach anyone any techniques. Could his old friend be better at nurturing ninjas than himself? When Lord Danzo taught me, it was quite simple. Akihara Kagura demonstrated with his hand, saying, "As long as you know the effect of the technique, first form the serpent hand seal and then recite the name of the technique." Then what? When Sarutobi Hiruzen saw Akihara Kagura speaking, he suddenly stopped and couldn't help but frown. What about the teaching method that follows? Then there's nothing else. Isn't this enough? Akihara Kagura looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen somewhat surprisingly and added, "Although the hand seals for wood release techniques are a bit strange with the serpent seal, as long as one keeps practicing the seals persistently, one can successfully cast the technique." There was no need to hide this from Sarutobi Hiruzen, as he could extract most of the information he wanted to know from Danzo himself. Wait a minute. Just practicing hand seals can learn those would release ninjutsu. He had never heard of such a teaching method. Sarutobi Hiruzen, with a furrowed brow, continued to inquire. What about the quantity of chakra combined when activating the wood release technique? What about the flow of chakra inside the body? Huh, what flow? A look of confusion appeared in Akihara Kagura's eyes. Sarutobi Hiruzen's mouth twitched slightly. Hade Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi both had strange expressions. How exactly did Akihara Kagura learn those powerful wood-release ninjutsu with such an abstract teaching method from Shimura Danzo? Sarutobi Hiruzen was silent, not knowing how to respond, and could only continue to ask, "Do you have any techniques you want to learn? Can I learn any technique?" "Of course." Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded, though somewhat apprehensive in his heart. Even though Sarutobi Hiruzen was a ninjutsu professor, he was somewhat at a loss on how to teach Akihara Kagura. Surely he couldn't adopt the same teaching method as Danzo, could he? That would be too embarrassing. When Danzo taught this child, did he really not feel ashamed? Is there a jutsu to defeat the Green Giant? The words of Akihara Kagura startled everyone present, but he continued as if unaware. The Green Giant used by Uchiha Shisui. Everyone present showed their understanding. During the Chunin exam, this little guy recklessly controlled the wooden dragon, but was stopped by the Susanoo released by Uchiha Shisui. A jutsu to counter Susanoo. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed deeply and said softly, "The first Hokage indeed left behind a jutsu to counter Susanoo. Wood release, wood human technique." As Sarutobi Hiruzen spoke, he brought his fingers together, forming the tiger seal. This is the hand seal for the wood release, wood human technique. First, form a tiger seal, which is necessary to channel a vast amount of wood release chakra to the great tree. While experimenting, Sarutobi Hiruzen formed the serpent seal, then formed a serpent seal, which is supposed to control the rapid growth of the great tree into a giant wooden figure. First the tiger seal, then the serpent seal. Does it actually require forming two hand seals? While trying to mimic Sarutobi Hiruzen's hand seals, Akihara Kagura frowned and said, "All the wood release techniques taught to me by Lord Danzo can be released with just one hand seal."